you can watch. And if you guys have any questions on captive bred babies and want to know what it's like to have them in your tanks, please let us. I mean, there's literally no better person to ask than somebody who has hundreds of them in her own house right now.
Well, I don't know about that. We're all learning here. Like, we are the pioneers. So, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah. Right now I have 5 of Mary's. I've had them for just about a year. They've been a very exciting addition. Always keeping me on my toes. I feel like they're just fearless. They just will do whatever they want.
Yeah, like molt without a shell on. What?
Yeah, they don't play by any of the rules.
Yesterday, I literally was looking over the tank and I talked to them. Sorry, I know it's weird, but I'm like, okay, look, I'm doing my part. Like, you guys got to do your part. Like, you got to be a crab here. I don't get it. Like, you're supposed to get a shell on your own. I'm not supposed to put you in a shell.
Like, I can only meet you halfway.
Right. I gave you ocean water. I gave you a bridge. You have thousands of shells. I'm like, what more do you want from me?
Like, put them in the shell.
Yeah, no,
Rita, yes, I am getting, this is the first year that I'm actively like participating in like the watching and probably like really overly watching that. I don't know, like being very overprotective of all of my different crabs and like, is that guarding? Is that aggression? What is that? What are you doing? Why are you following them? And just like questioning their every move. But I'm just kind of trusting that I'm going to trust the process. The crabs are going to do their crab things. They know what they're doing better than I do. And just be on the lookout for eggs. And I have seen mating now twice. So very, very exciting.
I'm going to plug in my computer just in case.
My purple pinchers. Hi, so I had all but one molting of my 4 captive bred babies. They decided to come up today. My question is, one of them came up super white and translucent. Is there something he or she is missing, or just common with younger ones? This is like, it's going to be a very probably vague answer, but I would say like it's completely possible that your captive bred baby or just a baby is just lighter in general. Some of mine are lighter than the others, but we've also found that babies love calcium and they absolutely need calcium, and the harder they are, they get a little bit darker, so you might want to try adding in a little extra calcium. And of course, Darcy, if you want to add anything in there too.
Yeah, no, that's great. I agree. Being a local facilitator for Mary this past year, I had a lot of her babies, so I can really see the differences in the rate of growth and their behavior and in color. And so I can confirm some are just going to be lighter and take longer to get that pigmentation for whatever reason. But yeah, I would say definitely check on your calcium, have that readily available. And sometimes, you guys, honestly, the little dish looks like it's plenty fresh and there's plenty in there, but the high humidity in our tank causes that really fine powdered like cuttle bone. I don't know if that's what you guys are using, your Exo mix. Sometimes it can really cause it to become kind of hardened. And then the babies don't like it for whatever reason. So just change it out often.
100% agree with that. Always keep it fresh. Same thing. I always keep green sand in my tank, and it looks like a brand new bowl of green sand, but I swear as soon as I take it out, dump it out, and put new green sand in, it's like they've never seen it before. And I see tons of crabs in it throughout the night. I don't know what it is. They just like the fresh stuff. They're picky.
You guys started early.
Hey, sorry.
I was like, I was here 3 minutes early.
We were just excited.
I was just trying to get hooked up and people were already here. So we were like, all right, let's go.
Jesse asked, have you had any issues with babies not making it through the molt? I know one of mine passed because of my own fault, but recently I had another not come back from a molt. Ben sent September, so I'm sure he's gone. One, I guess you never really know. I've heard of some stories, especially younger crabs, going down for like double molts, and it's very possible that they came up one night, grabbed some food and some water, and went back down and was doing their thing again. Like that's totally not unheard of. I personally haven't had any issues with mine going through a molt, but I will also just be very transparent and saying like I am also very hands off with my crabs up until this mating season, and I kind of just let them do their own thing. But I did do a new build in January, and at that point, I still had all 5 of my captive bred at that point.
I could say this is probably one area that's kind of tricky And like I said at the beginning, we're pioneers here. Like all of you who are adopting captive bred babies, first of all, thank you, because without you guys adopting, we couldn't do this. So you're very, very important. You play a huge role in this. And so, but just to be honest, like we are all pioneers. This is brand new. This is, only a couple of years old, and there's only, very few of us that still, are owning these captive bred babies. So that being said, I feel like this is one area where we're still learning. The babies are so small, they cannot carry a whole lot of shell water with them. So when they go down to molt, they don't have a huge, reserve to create a molt tunnel around them or a molt cave, and they don't have a lot of reserve just to get them through the molt. So we have had to kind of make sure that the substrate is a little bit more on the moist side for the captive bred babies for that reason. But when you're housing them with your adult crabs, that can run into being too wet. So it's kind of like trying to find the balance. For the first year and a half, I kept my captive bred babies separate in their own tank for this reason. And I only just combined them this summer. So I guess it's been almost 2 years. Just this summer to make room for the new babies coming in. But anyway, so that is something I would look at your substrate. If it's a little bit more on the dry side, if you own captive bred babies, guys, we would never say this out loud normally, but if you own captive bred babies, you might have to mist a little bit and get your substrate a little bit moist. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I did have a hermit crab, a baby captive bred, and Mary will remember this, that passed away. So I live in the desert, and so like in Utah, second dry state in the country. And the amount of water I added to the sand was enough for my adults, but it was not enough for a baby. And when I was moving, I waited 3.5 months for my crabs to come up before I moved my tank to our new house, and had to go digging. And I found one of my little captive bred babies, and it was traumatic. It was seriously traumatic. Cause I bought 4 anyway. So, it had passed away while trying to molt. And it was just, the problem was I added water to that tank. That was in our last house. I added about 2 liters of water, maybe 3 liters of water to that tank, to the substrate, trying to get it up sandcastle consistency. And when I closed it up and then let it sit for a while, it had reached sandcastle consistency. And I expected at, in the first top 5 inches or whatever of the sand. And I expected that to seep down to the rest of the sand. But because the sand here is so dry, it actually evaporated instead of spreading. I didn't know that. And so I got to be part of the learning experiment for people owning hermit crabs in the desert. And so when I dug that little hermit crab out, the sand that was near the top, it was about 3 inches down, should have been plenty moist. It was completely dry. And that poor little baby, I just felt so bad. And I actually had another baby that passed away in the move. Mary and I were moving at the same time. And so we were like, it's never gonna, I'm never moving ever again. But it was a very traumatic experience for that as well. But so that molt, that one time it did not work. And like Darcy said, they need a lot more moisture than what we're expecting. And especially if you live in a desert like I do, you already need to add a lot of moisture. And so when I set up the tank in the new house where we currently live, I added 5 gallons of brackish water to my tank, and just to the sand and everything. And that it's sandcastle consistency, and my 2 remaining baby crabs have been doing really well. I usually only see one of them up at a time. It's like they alternate turns. They're like, hey, your turn, go down. But anyway, so yeah, I did have that problem. And so, yeah, just a second, that you need to have extra moist substrate. And again, like Darcy said, this is a learning experience. Nobody knew this stuff like 2 years ago. Nobody knew any of this. And in 2 years from now, we're going to probably look back and be like, we probably should have done that.
Yeah, which is so interesting. And now that we're talking about this out loud, I'm in South Florida where humidity is 100% pretty much year round. And I haven't had any issues with my sub. So it's very possible that mine is just naturally a little bit more on the humid side.
Yeah, same with Darcy in Texas.
yeah, that's totally true. Dina asked, do the babies, and sorry guys, I know we took a while to answer just a couple questions, but I'll go through the chat and make sure we get all of your questions answered. Dina asked, do the babies eventually go into their main tank, or do they have to have their own permanent tank? So I'll let one of you ladies tackle this one.
You really can.
Ready, set, go. I would say I don't know. Like I put them in the main tank right away, but they were older. They were October and Mary start of the 2020 when I got them in October. She was the 2019. I got them in October 2020. So she'd already been what's the word, adopting them out since like May. And so mine were older already to begin with. And so they weren't super tiny when I got them, and they did fine in the main tank. Like I didn't have any problems other than that water issue, but that would have been, I mean, my older crabs obviously didn't like that either. None of them went down to molt, but babies kind of don't have a choice. They have to molt when they molt a ton when they're little. So, yeah, so I put them all in their main tank. I would prefer to keep them in a little 10 or 20 gallon tank just because they disappear so easily in the bigger tanks. I'm like, I want to watch them. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say either is fine. We have adopters that do both. I've experienced both personally. Like I said, I kept my captive breds in their own tank for actually by themselves for the first year. But then we noticed that they were not growing at the same rate as the other adopters' babies who had them with adult crabs. So we actually learned that the babies do better if they have adult crabs. They kind of learn from the adult crabs. They see, I guess, potential in growth. You have to add bigger shells to their tank for those adult crabs, and so they see resources available. So if we could only think like a crab, but I mean, there's a reason. Like they really, of the people who went to New York that first year to adopt, everybody who was keeping their captive breds with adult crabs, their babies were growing at a faster rate than those of us that kept them by themselves. So once we realized that, I went ahead and got a couple of my smallest adult crabs and I added them to my baby's tank. And that way they would have just a couple of the small adults, and that made a huge difference. My babies started to grow and they were really thriving. They loved those adults in the tank with them. And then just this summer, I put them all in my main build. So even my 2018 captive babies are now in the big build and they're doing great. It's kind of fun to see tiny ones over here because everybody's gotten so big. But so yeah, you can do either. But like we said, the substrate is the big difference. So if you're feeling more comfortable being able to keep their substrate the right consistency in their own tank, I would just add 1 or 2 adults with them and keep them separate.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. Aquila asked, how big of a variety of shells do you need if they are constantly molting? And I feel like this is another like a kind of vague one, but I usually do probably 4 to 5 shells minimum per crab. And even I think I have a ton more little ones in my tank because I put them all in like a giant shell pit basically. But what's really interesting, Aquila, is what I found. I've had 5 captive bred babies and they were all relatively the same-ish size when I received them. And I have 2 of them that are like almost 2 to 3 times the size as some of the other ones at this point. And it's so interesting because they molt relatively around the same times as well. And they're just growing at like crazy different rates. Some of them are staying just a little bit smaller. And some of them are like the size of like a normal crab of mine at this point. And it's just been so weird to watch. But I would just have like as many as you can, really as many as like as much as your tank can hold. And I don't know if you guys have any other like advice that you would give on top of that.
I just keep a very wide variety of sizes of shells, because what you, like Jeff discovered, the 2 that are left, they have grown so quickly that my smaller adult crabs, I can't sometimes tell the difference between them because they wear the same size shells. And so I'm like, I was just appalled. Like, how dare you grow so fast? You're my babies. Kind of like with my own kids.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question about keeping the babies with an adult tank. I think we answered that one. I've never kept my babies separate. Mine went straight into the big build. I think this is a good time as like a PSA during CrabCon to remind everyone that if you do adopt captive bred babies, whether they be from Darcy or Mary or Josh's frogs, remember they do not need to go through PPDS. They can go straight into your tank, and it will actually do them much more harm to put them in like their own separate tank through PPDS. So if you plan on just putting them into your main tank, go ahead and just do that. Or if you're going to create your own baby tank, that's fine too. Just make sure it's up to like the Lyco standards right away. Where do you get your shells for your captive bred babies?
I get them from Ken.
Yeah, pretty much 3 resources, I guess. Ken with the shell shop. Or you can go to Hermit Harbor. Evie is a great resource and has captive breds. And, I don't know if you guys watched her talk. She's out advocating. So she definitely knows what you need when you say, I have, captive bred. So I would definitely go to, Ken does too. They both do. And then the third one is Etsy. And so Mary will often in the baby crab group on Facebook, whenever she sees, a lot of her babies taking some kind of shell, then she will post a link for us in that Facebook group. And so that's always a good spot to go to.
Yeah. Hermit Harbor is where I got the majority of mine. I'm lucky I live just a couple hours from her, so I was able to go up and get the captive breds from her. What are some behavioral differences we've seen with the captive bred babies? An example, are they less skittish? I saw pictures of Darcy's adoptive baby from Mary, and its color was so vibrant. Do you think because it hasn't gone through the trauma of other crabs and it's had a healthy diet its whole life that it impacted the coloration? It's an interesting question.
I would say my captive bred babies are way more skittish than my adult babies. They hide more and they back up faster. My adult babies, maybe it's because my adult ones came from the wild and they're like, don't you dare threaten me, and they get defensive. But I don't know. That's just my experience.
The little ones move so quickly. Mine are like they almost have like the speed of Ecuadorians. I have 2 Ecuadorians that are quite medium to even large sized, and they move so quickly. And the little babies, I feel like, are exactly the same. They see a shadow and it's like they dart, and away they go.
Yeah, something I'm really interested to see as we progress through this captive breeding process is if that instinct decreases as we get more and more generations of captive bred. So I can tell you guys, as soon as they come out of the water in their very first shell, breathing air for the very first time, stepping on sand for the very first time, they are immediately looking for a place to hide. So it has to be instinctual, there's no predators around, like it's a perfect environment kind of thing. And so that's, that's just their instinct. But I'm curious, as time goes on, if we start to have 3, third, fourth, fifth generation captive breds, if that starts to lessen. But yeah, I would agree. Most of the captive bred babies are pretty skittish. They, if you walk by the tank, it's like, whoosh, really fast. It's kind of funny. I just kind of turn. I'm like, "You're good, chill." I wasn't even going to stop and look at you.
Like I'm just trying to feed you and help you survive. But
yeah, right? I keep my tank in the hallway upstairs by all the bedrooms, and so you walk past it multiple times a day. And I kind of tiptoe past. I'm like, guys, I'm really not here to hurt you, but I'm like, you know what? They're fine. It's replicating real life, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. My build is in my office. Anytime I get up to go to like the bathroom or go grab lunch or something, I can hear like a crab thud out of the topper, and it always happens to be one of the babies. I don't think they've like learned how to like go back into their shell and also hold on at the same time. They just drop like a rock.
Yeah, so funny.
Lily asked, do you think it's easier to add the captive bred babies rather than rescue crabs? I think they have their own anxieties. Yeah. I think that they're both like just a little bit different. Like in terms of timing, yeah, I think it's a lot easier because you don't have to do PPDS. You can just dump them into your tank and just monitor them like you would your other crabs. Where like if you are rescuing or adopting, you have to follow, if they didn't come from good conditions, you have to follow the PPDS method. And I know I just finished mine with Dumpy, the one that I rescued from the dumpster in Miami. And it was a very long, stressful 4 weeks, making sure that we were building things up into the proper conditions. And it was stressful. But what do you guys think? Anything different?
I think captive bred babies are easiest. Just, I love the PPDS tank. I love watching it and that process, seeing them go from the lethargic to healthy, but it's a lot less time consuming to just get them. So I'm like, my plan from now on is always captive bred babies.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. And you never know what they've been through. And I've put crabs through PPDS. They looked healthy, put them in the main build, and they still, maybe don't live very long. I mean, it's hard to know what they've been through. And I think too, a lot of them are so just haven't had the resources that they need, so deprived of that, that when you put them into the tank, there can be some aggression, even though you might stand there and watch. I've still seen some crabs that just like harbor this need to like hoard the food and the shells and the space, and the, they just think maybe I won't have this, and so they get kind of like a bully, and you're not going to have that with your captive bred. So.
Yeah.
Well, I did have one of my captive breds was a bit of a bully. That one was named Grouchy because he loved shells, and he loved shells regardless of big crabs, little crabs. He was always like grabbing at shells. I kept putting him back in the shell shop. He changed shells probably every 5 minutes for the first probably 2 or 3 hours that I had him. I was like, dude, are you just...
Wow.
That's so funny. Do they need different stats, or is it the standard 80-80? This is a really interesting one. I know Mary suggests, especially at the smaller that they are, that they have access to something like higher heat and lower humidity because they are very soft as they're smaller, access to the calcium, of course, but the higher heat and lower humidity. And I will say, as soon as I brought mine home, they went straight into my topper, and they spent a ton of time in there. And that's where it's the least humid in my tanks.
Yeah, I would just at least have something that they can climb up against the back glass where your heat mat is and up off the substrate, especially because, like we were talking about earlier, your substrate needs to be a little bit more on the moist side than what your regular adult crab tank is. And so they do need to have a way to get up off of that substrate. And they do like to be right up against the heat mat. So, yeah.
If you adopt captive bred babies, how many do you suggest getting at the same time?
All of them.
Darcy's like 100.
Darcy, I will take all of yours.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me the tank.
Let me tell you, I'm feeling a little overrun. My girls last night, we were like, oh my goodness, we have to keep all these babies for a year.
How many do you have now?
So, I mean, we have our 35 purple pinchers that can be adopted out this summer. And then we already have one spawn that made it to land earlier this summer, and our second spawn going to land right now, and a third spawn in the Chrysal ready to megalopa literally any day. I'm like, please just let this group get out of the transition tank. Like I don't know how I'm going to have like a almost to land group and then add a brand new. I can't do that. So I'm just like, guys, don't megalopa yet. I need a few more days. But anyway, so I don't know on this last batch just yet because they haven't all made it to land, but somewhere, I mean, in the hundreds.
Isn't it so funny? A year ago this time, Darcy, you were like praying and saying like, please megalopa, please megalopa. Now you're like, don't do it. Don't you dare.
I know, right?
How times
Yeah, that was the strawberries. Oh, that one killed me. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And these ones are purple pinchers, right? The ones that are coming now.
To land right now today?
Are they
the
still
ones in the
mysteries?
Chrysal?
Yeah, all of them.
They're not all purple pinchers.
That's so crazy.
Exciting times ahead. I know, guys. We'll keep on going through. More to come. If I apply to adopt captive bred babies, how do I get them? When I hear anyone talk about theirs, they drove to New York to get them. I won't be able to do that. Ooh,
Me neither.
Okay. Yeah, like let's let the Utah person talk about how they got their captive bred babies.
Yeah, I ordered them and Mary shipped them to me, and they came in those little tiny little containers that I still have because they're adorable, and they were fine. I mean, I think it was an overnighter. I thought Mary was here, but if she's here, she can correct me. But yeah, they came overnight. They arrived on my son's birthday, which was really awesome, and 4 of them in 2 different containers. So the shipping was really good. They were totally fine when they arrived, ready to be, added to the main tank, and they've done super well since.
Yeah, and there's also, just so you know, we do have regional facilitators who have the captive bred babies in their house. So if you ever want to reach out to Mary, I'm sure she'll be able to direct you on like who you can reach out to if you have somebody near you, or they can set up shipping for you when it's safe. Mary does a really great job. She plays meteorologist a little bit, and she plays shipping expert and tries to plan the best time to ship the crabs to make sure that they can get to you overnight and make sure that they're nice and safe.
And the last thing I heard from Mary was that she is no longer shipping crabs. She's giving all of her babies to Josh's frogs. So, get on the waiting list there, because I know that they go really quickly when they get in.
Yes. And they do adjust the inventory based on if they're molting. I think they do a count of them pretty frequently based on who's available to actually ship out or not. So always pay attention to their website.
Very nice. I didn't know that part about the molting thing.
Not a question, but this was really sweet. Somebody said, Darcy, the smile on your face is so sweet because I can see how proud you are to officially be a breeder.
Thank you. Yes, we are. We're definitely a different roller coaster of emotions this summer.
A lot of exhaustion, right?
Definitely. Can you see that in my eyes?
Someone said, a dumpster, please share the story. I talked a little bit about it on a giveaway. We'll keep this one to baby crabs, but maybe tomorrow we'll have some more time during one of my Q&As. We can talk about it. But the TLDR is that a crab got found in a dumpster, or somebody reached out to me and I adopted them. And so now his name is Dumpy and he's doing great. And I love him. Let's see. We are so ready for captive ease and straws, aren't we all? We are all so ready.
Me too. I'm ready.
Someone said, what would you guys recommend for pool size with babies and a large adult crab? Darcy, I think this is perfect for you with your giant build that's behind you, to speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, I have these 10-gallon pools in here, which I've added my captive breds to, and they're doing fine, but they're a lot bigger now. So when you first get them and they're the itty bitty ones, they really can do pretty well in all the pools. You just have to make sure that they have a really easy way in and out, and multiple ways in and out, so that they don't feel like, stuck if they can't find that one bridge. In my captive bred tank that I have, mostly just the captive babies, and I have a couple of adult crabs in there. I have 2.5-gallon pools that are filtered, and then I have the reptive bridges in there that I use for breeding. They're in all of our pools, and then craft mesh also up the sides, so that they just have multiple ways out. But I've never lost one in the water. So they can traverse as long as you're giving them a good way. I would not use just a plant as being the only way out. I think that could be an additional way. But yeah, definitely make it easy for them to get in and out.
And one quick point about the pools. If you've got like the craft mesh that goes down the sides, the babies will actually go behind it. And I had a baby fall in and I watched it for a minute. It just went around the perimeter of the pool and it couldn't find the craft mesh. And so I ended up adding rocks and stuff behind the craft mesh along the edges, because they instinctively go to the edge and they don't think to go out in the open where they're more likely to get attacked.
Oh, that's super smart. Good point. Yeah, I would always advocate for at least 2 to 3 ways to get out of a pool. And that way, if you have something that just happens to fall over, your crabs go crazy one night and something crazy happens, there's always a backup.
Crabs never go crazy.
Listen, tell that to my Ecuadorians. Is it expensive to adopt the babies? I guess it depends on your judgment. I believe they're $50 on Josh's Frogs, and Darcy, you are going to be doing a silent auction, right? Am I misspeaking, or that silent auction with yours, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just this first time, just because for the first group that we got to land, we didn't have that many, and we just thought that'd be a great way that a lot of people could have a chance at getting them who really wants them, but also a way to help us in the breeding program, because it's very expensive to captive breed. Mary can attest to that too. And so I think when you look at the price, you guys, the thing is, these are animals that are going to live, a very long time. 40 plus years, if you just watch the talk about Jonathan, longer maybe, because they're captive bred and so healthy. So, we have to view them like that. There are a lot of exotic animals that are sold for hundreds and thousands, even, thousands of dollars. So we're used to seeing hermit crabs being priced dirt cheap, which is why they're viewed the way that they are, which is why people don't value them and they don't care for them properly. and they'll just buy them on a whim. That's what we did. Like, I mean, that's how we started. You guys know our story. And so part of changing the mentality, changing the industry has to be changing the perspective of the value of them as an animal. And with that comes price. I can tell you the time and emotion and effort. I mean, we've shared with you guys some, not all, but there's a lot that goes into captive breeding. So do I think they're expensive? Nope. Not at all.
I think it's a bargain, to be honest. I truly believe that it's asking very little for the amount of effort, heartbreak, and just time and materials that you have put into the program. I think it's asking very little.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I understand budgets. I mean, I have a family of, with 4 kids, 3 of them in college. Like, I totally get it. So I think it's, but it's necessary. I mean, it's necessary that we increase their price. Yeah.
Totally
and people value things that they spend more money on. Like if you get a $3 hermit crab, and I'm not saying like people in here, everybody who's attending Crab Con is going to be somebody who values their crabs. But people in general who spend $3 for an animal versus $50, they're going to value the $50 one more, which is unfortunate. But it's what you see. Like when I'm on the classifieds, I see people like they got them for their kids. They would never get a $1,000 random rare lizard for a 7-year-old. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So.
Yeah. Darcy, somebody would like to know how you balance all of the breeding with your job, and how do you maintain a life?
Oh, okay. So I'm happy to answer that. But also tonight I am doing a breeding like an update, so it might be a good time for that question there. Maybe if you guys want, that way we can keep it on owning baby crabs. What do you guys think?
Yeah, up to you. Okay. That's the last question we have right now currently. So up to you.
Yeah, I would say let's save that for that talk, because we're going to get into depth about what we've been doing, what we're working on, what we hope to do in the future, and that sort of thing. Somebody did ask it. They said they understand why they're more expensive, but they didn't know the actual price. So I know $50 for purple pinchers is the current price from Josh's Frogs, and I believe also if you get them from Mary. But just a heads up, exotics will be priced higher. They're more finicky to get to land, and there are less of them. Like the exotics actually spawn, not all of them, I guess. I don't have brevies yet, but I'm betting they probably spawn a lot. But some of the species don't spawn that many, so they would be valued more just, supply.
There's a lot of good comments in the chat. Mary's is active in there. I'm like, oh, I got to read all her comments.
I know. I was like scrolling through too. I was like trying to read and find out what the questions were. Someone said, "How big is your biggest baby?" Maybe that's a question, Darcy, for like the 35 that you have brought to land. What's the largest one that you have right now?
Oh, the new babies?
Yeah, I think so. Let's go with that.
Like the ones from last year, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still really pretty small. I would say they're in probably like 0.3 millimeter shells. They're tiny. Yeah, they're still, but seem massive to the ones that are taking shells today. Like they seem huge.
If you guys haven't already, Darcy has a baby cam set up, and you can actually go look at them. And I know I have a few of Mary's dishes and ladders, so they look giant on here. It kind of looks like Toy Story status, like with how big they are on the camera. But these are tiny little dishes, and you can see like the little crabs just like running around in there. But definitely go check out the baby cam if you guys want to see them.
And really fast, the other baby that I had pass away, I was just wanted to add a point that moving is stressful for any animal, any person. And that one crab, it was really sad. Like it did not seem, I don't know. We still don't know what happened. It was just in the process of moving from our other house to the next house. It just was so stressed that it ended up leaving its shell and trying to get it back in there, back in its shell, trying to get it to accept its shell again. It just wouldn't. So just recognize that they are fragile creatures, especially the babies there. They have I would say they're more fragile than the adult crabs are, because the adult crabs already went through a lot before you got your hands on them. And so just recognize that it's not your fault unless you purposefully did something. It's not your fault if you have one that passes away. Again, this is all a learning experience for everybody, and it's heartbreaking, but report it to Mary, because Mary keeps track of this stuff. It's good information for her to have, good for Stacy to have as well, to add to the Crab Street Journal and all of that. So just know that, and nobody's gonna hate you except for those random people who are not at CrabCon.
I think it bears repeating. I think Darcy said it best. Like, we're all pioneers in this, and whether it's the people who are breeding the crabs, like Darcy and Mary, or if it's the people who are adopting them and bringing them home, this is all a very new experience for everybody, and we are learning so much from it. And it's sad, it's heartbreaking if you lose one, but at the same time, like, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes there's not like a great explanation for it. But the more that we learn, the more that we can gain education from it for the future.
Yeah, and in real life, the crabs, what percentage of these crabs would have survived in real life? So we're already providing them with a much better situation than they would get out in the wild. And so, some of them will die. You can't avoid that, but we will have more of them live than would happen, especially with the hermit crab industry.
Yep. Someone is asking if there is a wait list for other species at this time, which I think we can say no, because it hasn't really happened yet, right? We're still kind of waiting. We're all hoping it happens. We're crossing our fingers, but.
And that's good to know what Mary's comment there about how any exotic babies will still come from the breeders, not Josh's frogs. So it's just the purple pinchers that are with Josh's frogs, I'm guessing, from Mary, and then Darcy has hers.
How is everyone doing?
I saw somebody ask about bioactive tanks for the babies. Do you guys have bioactive tanks for your babies?
I just have the very standard.
My tank is fully plastic. If you haven't seen it, I'm the one that has all the craft mesh everywhere.
Yeah, I have springtails in my tanks because they found their way there, which is kind of cool. I'm sure it came in off of, I don't know, moss or something. But anyways, we used to have isopods in our tanks, and when we did the big build, we decided to not add them. We might go back to it at some point, but we haven't yet. And real plants, I love putting real plants, and I have put real plants in my tanks several times. And every once in a while I go through this like, oh, I feel bad. My crabs need real plants. Like, I'm a horrible crab mom. And I'll put some real ones in there. And then like the next morning, they're dead. They're gone. They are dug up. They're trashed. And I'm like, okay, that's right. That's why I don't do this. But as long as you know that's going to happen, like, the crabs love real plants. So if you're willing to do that for them over and over again, go for it. I only invest in that every once in a while because it gets kind of expensive. But
yeah, sometimes I'll throw some chia seeds in some like worm castings and let that sprout. That's about as crazy as I get. But yeah, I've done live plants before back in the day, and it's never ended up well for me.
There's a question. In your experience, how frequently do the young captive bred crabs molt? Like, all the time.
Yeah. And they tend to seem to do all at the same time. I don't know, some kind of message sent out or pheromone or something. They're like, all right, it's molting time. And here they are. And I'm looking in the tank like, I should have 30 of you. Where are you?
My five.
Then they all come back.
My five consistently go down together. And what I find, which I don't find that to be super unusual because they can see each other do their thing. But what I find super interesting is they always seem to come up together on the same night as well. And it's so weird. I'm convinced that they communicate under the ground, or they're using some type of sign from the moon phases or something. Something is going on that is telling them to come back up. I don't know what it is.
It's like women with their cycles. Sorry, I had to say it.
They've synced.
I agree, and that starts very young. Do you see that in your tanks early on with your babies? I mean, I've seemed to see that with mine.
She says definitely.
Yeah.
Someone asked, how long do they stay down as babies?
Like a week. or a couple days in the
They're
beginning.
real quick. Sometimes even I actually had a baby that I got from the regional adopter, and I don't know if I got it with their big pincher missing because I didn't get a great look at them. But they, at some point in like the first day, I noticed they didn't have a big pincher, and before I even knew it, like they had one, and I'd even like noticed that they were gone. It was that quick.
I have had that as well. I've had, I guess, maybe a bad molt or maybe was disturbed or something like that. Came back, was missing, a pincher, but they recovered pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And seemed to be fine. So,
yeah. It's terrifying when they all go down at once. It is.
And I think I killed them all.
Yeah, I get sick to my stomach, actually.
If you already have adult crabs, would it still be good to adopt more than one baby at a time?
Yes, I think so. They buddy up together. Like I am always seeing the baby. They do enjoy the adult crabs. They do look to them for mentoring and things like that. But the babies are always cuddling together. I can find several of them in a little seed pod or in a little cork log. Even right now, these babies that just came to land yesterday, they're all huddled up together under a leaf, and it's just their instinct, like they're social, and I think they like a buddy. So I would.
Probably makes
they
it.
They don't like their people buddies, though.
No, they don't like me.
No.
Even though I feed them, take care of them, stress over them, they could care less about me.
There's a question way back, sorry, and I think we missed it a little bit. Somebody was asking about the color of the captive bred babies.
Yes.
I posted one. So I do think that partially for sure is that they're captive bred, they're healthy from the start. I think also it depends on, the mom and the dad, the genes of the crab make a difference. And I know Mary has posted pictures of the mom and dad of her captive bred, and they're beautiful. So we're seeing now a lot of these 2018 babies are just gorgeous, gorgeous purple, like their mom. So I think that's part of it. And then third, I think for me, the diet is really important, and they're having a really good diet from day one, from when Mary had them coming to land all the way through, the time that we've had them. They've had well-balanced diet full of, great foods that are going to give them good color. So, I think that is where it's coming from.
Christine asked if they're good climbers. Incredibly, and they are so active. I have toppers, and Darcy, you have Andrew, do you have topper on your tank?
No, and it's funny because my husband and I were talking about it yesterday, and he's like, so when are you going to add a topper? And I'm like, this is the man who 2 years ago didn't want hermit crabs.
I was so anti-topper. I was going to get just a second tank is what I was going to do. And I watched Darcy's video of her room, and I was like, you know what? If she can do it and she feels good about it, because I was just very nervous about them and just like how safe it was, like the humidity getting out. And I was like, you know what? If she can do it and she feels good about it, I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm just going to see what happens. My husband thought I was nuts. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, they live in that topper. They love it. They climb all of the time. I think like if I kept going higher, they would keep going higher.
100% worth it. Do it. Build a topper.
Do it. And if you don't have much space, come to Tiny Toppers tomorrow, and I'll show you how to make a really small topper and add some good vertical space for you. It's a little self-promo there.
Tiny topper. That's cute.
Tiny toppers. So like that. Mary came up with that. She's so creative.
She is. She's very creative.
Any big changes to the tank before adding the babies? I think just kind of what we touched on before, right? They definitely want an area that's higher in heat and a lower humidity, especially like post-molt. I found that they really enjoy, and access to lots of calcium throughout the tank is really important.
And I was going to say, oh, sorry, Darcy. Did you want to? Okay. So I use a lot of the Plascolite, which is like the egg crate, the very, little squares or whatever. And when I first got my babies, I started putting craft mesh on the outside of that just to make it easier. But then I noticed they're good climbers. They had zero problem. Even the ones that they would fit through the holes, but they would still climb it. And I was like, how are they doing that? Like, they're just so tiny, but so I didn't have to modify as nearly as much as I was planning on modifying. But I did make modifications so that they could reach, food easier. And Mary sends, when you go through her, she sends like these little cute little things that you put water and food in for them. And that was good. That helped. Sorry, Darcy, I'm trying not to take your answer, so you can go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. Totally fine.
Someone asked, oh, where did it go? I think my thing started moving. Where is the silent auction for Darcy's babies?
So first you just have to apply to be an approved adopter, which is the same application process for all captive bred babies. So you can go to Lycos adoption, and there is a special link for this one event. And so you can find that on the video we posted on our channel announcing it. You can go to our website, and we have a link on our website as well. I can probably put it I'll put it in the chat at my talk tonight, since we're talking about updating on the breeding and everything. So I'll put it in the chat there tonight. I believe it's at 6, I think.
I think so. That sounds right to me. Eastern time, right? 6 p.m. Eastern?
Yes.
Do captive bred babies share the same food as adults?
Yes.
I was like, we're all shaking our heads.
Yeah, I feed them all the same thing. Yep.
Yeah,
some of the stuff that they avoid, like when I'm giving nuts and things like that, I'll give a mixture between whole nuts and crushed to powder. And I notice that they don't always eat the whole nuts. The big crabs will generally do that. But with the big crabs together, the big crabs will break them down, and whatever they don't eat, the baby crabs go and eat.
Yeah, and
I would say for calcium.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, calcium. Yeah, I would make it. I mean, I always have the powdered form. I buy it from Mary. I mean, she has the best stuff for the captive bred babies, so I just suggest getting it from her. And then it's the right. It's perfect for them because that's what they've had from the beginning. So, and then again, change it out regularly. Some of you may not have been in this chat early on, but it does get kind of hardens after time, just with the high humidity. So you want to change it out often.
Someone said that they were having flooding issues and they're 20-gallon long. Sorry to hear that. Flooding is never fun. I feel like everyone has gone through it probably at least once or gotten close to it. And it's just not a fun experience to go through. I would probably jump into the Lycos group. We have some moderators in there that can really walk you through. If you post pictures of your tank and your stats, they will take care of you. And I'm sure they're online today, Joshua, so you can maybe reach out to see if there's something going on. Does it matter about the size of things you give them to climb? Like, are the bigger spaces in light panels more challenging? You kind of spoke to that, Indrid, a little bit. No, they seem to climb anything and everything. And mine especially even go like in the little silicone, like their little sharp toenails after a fresh molt. They'll climb right up the silicone, no problem.
Yeah, they're very adept.
Yeah, they will. They're very persistent as well. They're going to do what they want.
Megalopa they were climbing the glass wall, not the silicone, the actual wall. Yeah, I was squirting them down like crazy. What in the world?
You're really selling this breeding thing to me.
Sorry.
Do you worry the babies will fall from the tippy top of the topper and harm themselves? Mine love crawling upside down. Do I worry about it internally? I do. But it's happened so many times that crabs fall from trees in the wild. I do purposefully make sure that under my topper, I don't have a glass dish or one of Mary's clay dishes as well, just to be extra safe. But I just kind of keep softer things under the topper just in case. But I'm so used to them just dropping. It just happens, and it happens in the wild.
Every tank I've had for the captive bred has had a topper. 2018 came back from New York, put the babies in a 20-gallon tall with a topper, and I've never had a problem with the babies in the topper.
Highly recommend them.
Yeah, babies fall. They fall all the time, and I've never had one get hurt. I'm in a 100-gallon tank, and I staggered it so that the front is lower sand, and then it goes to a hill in the back, and I've had them fall in the front, and it's I don't know. I know I shouldn't, but I find it humorous because the way they respond, I'm like, that was your fault.
They are funny when they like come out of their shell after they fell and they look around like, what happened? It's like, you dude, you did that.
Yeah. Yep.
I do not remember if organic salad spring mix is good for my hermit crabs.
I don't know what's
think
in
so.
it.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look at like the ingredients. If you don't have it already, there is a really awesome resource, like the Fresh and Foraged book that Stacey May has put out. If you go to, I think it's myhungryhermit.com, it's an incredible book that will tell you everything that's, well, most things that are safe. And then it also give you some warning on some like use at your own discretion items, and then also items that are completely things that you should avoid. And I highly recommend every hermit crab advocate have that book at home. I've used it several times. But if you want to go to the Lycos page and like post a picture of like the ingredients, one of the moderators can put you in the right direction.
And a whole bunch of other people will yell at you and then get yelled at in turn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. It's gotten actually a lot better in the 2 years since I was there. Like in the beginning, the poor moderators, it's like they, as people slowly caught on to the whole don't comment, don't offer advice, don't offer suggestions, don't belittle somebody. You know, things have gotten a lot better, I think.
Much smoother. And especially the last year, I think things have really gotten into like a good place. I don't know how the moderators and admins keep up with all of the incoming posts. There's so many, but they do a great job. All right, I have been spending 1 to 2 months building out my first ever crabbitat. Perfectionist issues, totally get it, it's okay. And I'm waiting on some things to come in from shipping, like rocks for the pool. Is it possible to apply with progress pics to be on the waiting list for captive breds, or do things need to be fully complete? That's a great question. Darcy, I think that would be good for you to talk to.
I know there's actually an adoption like academy on Facebook, and you can work with a mentor there as you progress, and they can give you suggestions on what to do, or you can say, this is what I'm planning on doing. But ultimately, I think before you can be approved, you have to have your build completely up, finished and running. So, I mean, you can start the process, and then as you get it finished, you can just send updated pictures, and then you're in the, in the middle of the process, and that way once you get it finished, everything's done. I think that's possible.
Yes, please ask your questions, Joshua. It's if for nothing else, just for your own help and reassurance. I wish we could eliminate all of the trolls off the internet, but unfortunately there's too many of them these days. And the moderators and admins will be super helpful.
For Jennifer's question there about progress pics, your tank will probably always be a work in progress. Like I already have things I want to change, and mine's been approved for a year and 2 years, whatever. And I'm like, you're never going to get it to the perfect point. You're going to be like, oh, now it's done. I'm going to do this now.
Totally agree with that. We're adding a third base tank to ours. We're making a move in February, and I figured what better time to add another base tank than when you're moving already, which is crazy because I was so against the 2 tanks together to begin with, and now I'm like, let's add a third one.
That's so awesome. I just want Darcy's setup.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're ever selling your house, Darcy, and you want to include, and you don't want to move everything, you just let me know.
I'll keep that in mind.
He's like, you're crazy.
No, I love it. Like I would tell everybody to do this. I love it. I love being in here. It pretty much maintains itself. I mean, you have to do some work in the pools and things like that. And I'm always cleaning up just because I like to do that. I like clean glass and stuff like that. But yeah, this has been the easiest tank. When these are all separate, it was actually a lot more work. So
I believe that. And you can come clean my tank too. The glass is not. I have a 3-year-old. The glass is never clean.
It's not clean during breeding season. I'm embarrassed by this, but it's fine.
Oh, shame. I can't believe you're even showing it to us.
I know.
I'm offended. Someone said Darcy's additional side hustle being Crabbitat design consulting. I don't think you need another side hustle. I think you're fairly occupied.
Teaching.
I do love it though. I love to design them. I would say too, if you guys are looking for stuff, there are a lot of vendors at the expo right here, if you're planning on getting captive bred, that they are making, enrichments, water pools, dishes, ladders, all that kind of stuff, especially for the baby captive bred. So if that is something that you're planning on doing and you're looking at what should I put in my tank, go to the expo, because you can't go wrong. These people, there are people, they're making stuff for crabs and especially for these baby captive breds. So like, you can't get better than that for real.
I love long silences. They make me happy. Waiting for all the people in chat to be like, oh, it's a silence. I better ask a question now.
Exactly. Any baby questions that you guys want to know? Cricket. Jeannie said hi. Only thing I need adopting babies is the shells. Oh, awesome. Well, reach out to Hermit Harbor. She has a ton of baby shells.
And the shells are cheaper for babies, much cheaper for babies.
I have a half-gallon water pool in my baby tank. Would it be a better idea to have a smaller pool? I don't think so. I think if your pools are working for you, you got good conditions, as long as they got a way out of it, I don't think there's any need to downsize them.
Nope, I would agree with that.
How do I help my baby / bigger purple pinchers not be scared of the water pools? Great question.
Purple pinchers are not big swimmers. Of all the purple pinchers that I've had and fostered, they're pretty much toe dippers. I've only had a few that actually like to get down and swim, but you just we have to offer it so it's there in the case they want. I also think of all the species, they're the most nocturnal. So I think there's a lot of times I just don't see my purple pinchers getting down in the water because, I'm not up watching them. So, our job as their caretakers is to provide what they would possibly need, and then they will use it as they see fit. So as far as enticing them, just an easy, especially for purple pinchers, a very easy, way into the pool that's not like real steep, just like they love rocks that they can really grip onto and feel safe. So just an inviting place for them to be able to sit in the water just above it and toe dip will encourage them to get inside more, I think. I've used Dragon Rock, which has been really good in my freshwater pools. Texas Holy Rock is really good too, and I'm not sure if you can get that at other places, but yeah, rocks have been a big hit in my saltwater and my freshwater pools.
Lava rock is a really good one to use.
Yeah, I use live rock from my saltwater pool, and I created like a whole area outside of the pool, so it's very easy for them to just walk right in. I notice a lot more activity in my saltwater pool now.
Okay, you and I need to have a conversation about that at some other point.
Uh-oh.
It's totally safe. No, we did too. Do it. Have live rock, but as a breeder, we'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. I have 2 purple pinchers, and one of mine went swimming a couple times. It's awesome. Do you all ever include aquatic plants for them to forage for, like algae in the saltwater pool? That's an interesting question.
Yes, I have live plants in both of my pools. They do nibble on them. They last longer than real plants on the sub. So yeah, I've tried. I have moss balls in the freshwater pools, and some seaweed in my saltwater, and also the Nubius plants that grow you can just put them in there and they'll root onto a rock. I have several of those in both of my freshwater pools. I've also had duckweed. I heard somebody, I think it was Grace, talking about that in her talk earlier today. I've done duckweed in my freshwater pools, and the crabs like it. It does make a mess, kind of, but if you're okay with that, they eat it, and it's pretty to watch floating around.
Crabs like messy as much as we don't. They like it. Someone asked what live rock is. I don't really actually know what it is other than a rock that they make for saltwater tanks. I don't know if it's something specific. Maybe someone smarter here knows.
It just has the beneficial bacteria and things like that of a cycled tank. And so it's going to help your water quality, a lot quicker than having to cycle your tank from being fresh. And it just has, my live rock had lots of cool little bugs and stuff that the Zoe would eat when my crabs spawned in there. So yeah, it's just like actual like rock that's been in a cycled aquarium long enough to be beneficial in a new tank that's not cycled, that will then cycle your tank. Hopefully that explains it.
No, that's helpful for me even. And I don't know if there's a talk on it this year, but last year, if you guys haven't watched it, there's a talk now on YouTube about how to cycle your tanks and how beneficial it is to make sure that your water pool, if you have a really big filtered pool, how important it is for it to get cycled. We have just
there was a question earlier that we missed about what was it? It was 1224. Do we know why babies molt more often but for shorter periods of time? That was from Kelly.
I think we're just growing faster. As they get closer to being adult size, they kind of like people, I guess. They just grow slower, so they need to molt less often. But the babies are just growing at such a fast rate. And they're small, so it doesn't take that long for them to shed and harden up because they're just little.
Well, this was fun. Make sure that
Donna's question is interesting. I don't know if Mary is still in here. So if you order captive breds from Josh's Frogs, then you didn't have to go through the approval process, right? That you do in Lycos. So I think if I understand your question, you're saying like in the future, if you wanted to get exotics, because I know Mary was saying earlier, once exotics are available, adopters who have already had purple pincher captive breds will be able to adopt the exotics first. So I don't know if maybe that's what you're talking about. Would you be approved to get exotics since you've owned captive breds through Josh's Frogs? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Hopefully if Mary's in here, she can answer that question for you.
And I just checked on Josh's Frogs. There are now 10 captive bred babies available. So somebody went and bought 2 of them.
They did. That's exciting. If it was you, let us know. Someone asked like what a cycle tank is. I think the best thing that you guys can do is watch the rewind from last year. It probably explains it way better than we could in like 10 seconds. But it's like a fancy nitrate to nitrite situation, and it makes the crabs like the water more. There's like your really shortened clip note version, but there's like a 30-minute talk on it that I think would be really beneficial if you have a pool.
Cycle tank is something that Andrea has not wanted to take on yet. I'm still doing bubblers.
Regina bought 2 of them on Josh's Frogs. That's awesome. Good for you.
Nice.
Yeah, nitrogen cycle for the fish tanks. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, this was super fun to hang out and talk about babies. And Darcy, you have a talk tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern time, that you guys would, if you want to hear a breeding update from them, you guys will definitely want to go attend.
Which is unfortunate because she and I are at the same time.
Oh, no.
Like, well, I can't go to that then. Dang it.
What is your talk on tonight, Andrea?
It's called When Disaster Strikes. It's about all the different things, the most common problems that hermit crab owners have and how to resolve them and how to prevent them.
Okay. Yeah, that's good though. It's good for like beginners, I think, to hear a little bit and just I think the best thing you can do is be prepared for those type of situations and never think that it can't happen to you, even like in a perfect tank. Sometimes crabs are just goofy little things and they just do crazy things. So you just want to be prepared. So that'll be a really exciting talk.
I still have those things. I mean, they happen, they definitely happen.
Is that a crab molting behind you, Darcy? I can see.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes they give us cool windows. I don't really know why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I finally had that happen. A crab that molted next to the glass and was there for like 2 months. And I was like, They usually, once they go to the glass and see us, they pull away, but this one stayed there. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, and they both have finished eating their exos, so they should be coming up pretty soon, which I'm glad because those are Lila's. And I'm like, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Male and female right there.
Nice.
Get back up. You got things to do this summer.
That's right.
Plans.
Do.
Now is the time. Where's the best place to buy cut glass? Oh, I mean, I just found a local glass shop right here in town. And when I first started going there, I think they definitely thought I was crazy, but now they think it's kind of cool. So I walk in there like, what are we building this time?
I went to Lowe's, nothing too crazy, but they thought I was wild. They're like, what is this? Because I needed very specific size. I'm like, what is this for? And I'm like, here we go. I'm going to tell him about my hermit crab tank. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just cut the glass.
So my Lowe's will not cut glass. I mean, I can buy glass,
Really?
but they won't cut it. Yeah, they're like, here are the tools you can buy to cut it for yourself. I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah, no, ours had a cutter, and they like scrape it and cut it for me and everything.
Yeah,
Nice.
ours is like Darcy's. They won't do it. They're like, yeah, we don't cut glass here.
Interesting. Wonder why.
They're lazy. I don't know. Just kidding.
Probably just too chancy to like break it and then lose a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's not labeled a glass store, Josh. So I think mine is called Windows and Doors and More.
And that's the more.
So I just called. Yeah, that's the more part. I just called and asked, if they cut glass, and they said yes. So just call around some local places.
Somebody else needs to go buy hermit crabs because I keep refreshing the cart. Like, how many are available now? This is fascinating.
No, thank you, Mary, for doing this and for setting this up. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You will not regret owning captive breds, I don't think. So for one, you'll be one of very few that ever have that, the first to have that opportunity, I should say, which is really, really pretty fun to be part of the beginning, I think.
There are only currently purple pinchers on Josh's Frogs, Kim. Exotics are not yet available.
Yeah, and what Darcy was saying, like my sister-in-law a year or so ago is like, why are you so, I mean, I don't generally get super obsessive about things, but I just fell head over heels into this whole hermit crab thing. And she's like, but why? And I'm like, because I have a chance to be part of history, Like, I'm one of the very first people to own a captive bred hermit crab. And how often can you say that about any species out there? Like pretty much never, I don't know any other species that hasn't already been explored the way Mary originally started exploring, and how, like Darcy and the other people who are currently, I mean, this is all groundbreaking. It's exciting. Like it's awesome. It's like science that hasn't been explored yet,
It is amazing. I think it's so cool. I have framed my certificate of adoption of them and put it above the tank, and people at work all the time ask me what's behind me, and I get so proud, and I'm like, oh, let me tell you about my captive bred hermit crabs that I got from Mary Akers, and they're like, who's Mary Akers? And I was like, oh, she's super famous in the hermit crab industry.
Hey, my 6-year-old knows who Mary Akers is.
My whole all of my work knows who Mary Akers is. They think she's amazing. They think she's the coolest person. I work for a pet company but we primarily serve dogs and cats, but they're very into the adoption thing for dogs and cats as well, and they think it's so cool that I advocate for hermit crabs, and they think Mary is awesome.
I'm just going to plug this too, for anybody who's just not quite ready, or could be funds or whatever. You can be a part of this just by advocating and talking about it and sharing the word, because this is so new that a lot of people don't know this is even possible, or don't believe it, or are spreading rumors that, they have heard of other people that have captive bred. I know we get that on our channel a lot, and we're like, no, that's not true. So just getting out there and, talking about captive bred being available, putting in the links of how to get to them, is equally as important as those that are able to buy and support in that way. Like truly, it's going to take this whole village to make a difference in changing this industry. So just be out there talking about, what's happening, and that is very helpful.
Yeah, send them the Shelled Miracle documentary that you did last CrabCon. I've sent that to a few people as well that have watched it, and it's really changed their perception on, when they go to the beach on vacation and they see those type of stands, and their whole perception on it has completely changed.
Which one is that one?
That's the one Darcy and Crab Central Station put together for last year's CrabCon.
Was that the one I was in?
Yes.
Like which one is that one?
Yes, exactly.
Life is really crazy right now. I'm having a hard time keeping up on pretty much anything.
Too funny. But it tells a great story. It's, it is 45 minutes long, but like it goes by so quick, and it paints a really, I don't want to say it paints a great picture, but it sheds light, I guess you should say, on how horrific the industry is. And it also does paint the great picture at all of the work that Lycos has done and how hard that they have worked to make a difference.
Yeah. And using your social media to, a 1-minute YouTube short or a TikTok, just talking about it, you just never know how many people you're going to reach. And the more people we have out there talking about it, the better. So. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, the money part is so hard, and I know Mary and I have talked about this, and she's talked at CrabCon about it. Like, it's really hard to talk about money and, how much should we charge for these hermit crabs, and neither Mary or I were like, we're not in this, we're not doing this for money. Like, that was not our intent, our purpose, or anything like that. But it's really about changing the perception of the species and how they're treated. And if you're going to make that type of change, that is one way that has to happen, and it's uncomfortable, and it's hard to talk about, and it's hard to ask people to pay that amount of money. But I think as breeders, we have to value them first, and then we need people like you guys that are adopting to come alongside and say, yeah, like, this is a worthy cause, they have value, they have a lot of value. So it's a labor of love. I keep saying that.
Tell yourself enough times that and you'll believe it.
I love doing this.
This is amazing. I prayed for this every day.
Yeah. No, I do. I just sent a video the other night to Mary and Stacy as I was watching one of the babies, just take their first steps on the sand, and like, I still cry. I'm like, this is so amazing. I have a video of you in a little egg in your mama's shell, and then I have a video of you in a chrysalis spinning around like whirly woos, then I see you as a megalopa climbing down there looking at shells, and like, here you are, like, you made it, and it's like, it's so emotional. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you see it happen, it's still, yeah, Mary too. It's really, I just can't even tell you, like, how these animals actually live in the wild and make it to land. I don't know. Like, I just will never understand it, what they have to overcome in a controlled environment with no predators. I'm like, y'all are amazing. These creatures are amazing to ever make it to land. So yeah.
I think about that a lot too. Like, just how does it even happen? Like, I don't get it. I don't think I'll ever understand how they make it in the wild.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to do it myself. Like, I can't imagine having little kids and little hermit crabs that aren't even hermit crabs yet.
Well, you say that, but once we get methods a little more manageable and a system down that seems a little more doable, hopefully we can get some more people on board.
Yeah, and I mean, our house, we have the kind of house, it would be perfect for it, like we fell into this house on accident and it was like a miracle that it happened, and there's 7 bedrooms. So I'm like, I have space. I just don't have energy. Or like there's so many things that are kind of, it's just, yeah, life's really stressful. I would love to do it eventually. But right now I'm like thinking about it just makes me panic. So I get to just live vicariously through.
Like, space cannot be excused. I have a folding table in a closet.
Okay.
A folding table in a closet.
Oh man.
Mary too, I think. She really I think in her new house has a lot less space. Where there's a will, there's a way, let me tell you.
So it's my will right now.
Yeah, well, you have little kids, I get that.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work. My kids are older. They can help.
And they help out. And my daughter is obsessed with them. She's like, Faith, did you see Faith's hair? It was so cute. She's 9.
Yeah, my girls. They're a lot of help.
Garage babies.
That's so funny. Please advertise them that way, Mary.
None of my babies are garage babies.
That's so funny.
2021 babies are going to be extra hardy.
Yeah, I'm going to head out now. I have to get my toddler down for a nap because, he still needs a parent, apparently.
I need the nap part.
Yeah, thank you, both of you guys.
Yeah, this was fun. Good to see you guys. Yes. Yeah, go adopt babies. Spread the word.
Yeah. Ci vediamo.
See ya.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, thank you very much, Mary, and everybody for coming.
Are you staying on longer, Jeff? Or are you heading out?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what time this was scheduled till. Do you? I don't remember. I can see if there's any other last minute questions that come through.
Yeah.
I just do what Mary asks. She says, "Can you do this?" Right. And I say, "Yes, ma'am." Yes, I can.
Do we stay here longer, Mary? Or I don't have anywhere to be, so it's totally fine.
Same. Darcy, do you remember? Remember what?
Darcy, do I remember? What do I remember? What?
I don't know. It's very cryptic.
Probably not. I probably don't remember.
Oh, wood temperature. Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, to bake it?
I think so. Oh, Jeannie's in here. Jeannie will tell. She's the queen of foraging. She'll tell us. 150. There you go. See? There you go.
Yeah. Bye, Mary. See you later.
Bye, Mary.
Oh, good. There you go. 150. I just put it on the lowest my oven goes. I just keep pushing down till it won't go down any lower, and then that's what I do. But don't leave it. It's wood in an oven. It's hot. You got to stay there and watch it.
I just buy it from Etsy.
Yeah, get it ready to go from Moss and such.
I bought a ton of, my husband probably thinks I'm crazy. I was like, yeah, I bought a bunch of sticks and bark from my friend Jeannie's shop on Etsy. And he's like, what's wrong with you? I was like, it's for the crabs. Just don't worry about it.
Right. That's my go-to. It's for the crabs.
Yeah, it's for the crabs. And he's like, oh, okay. He knows not to fight. There's much worse things I could spend my money on, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You saw my order. Oh, good. Take your time. I'll be up in Orlando for another week or so. We're babysitting my in-laws' dogs while they're in Europe, so plenty of time. So we have 2 very excited corgis and 2 very excited golden retrievers, and it's been a little exhausting. Your bark is in the corner. I don't think anyone has any questions. We'll give it 1 more minute. If no other questions come through, then we'll let everybody go out. I'm on a budget. Amen. We all are. Main stage is at 3. Yeah, they'll give everyone a good 10 minutes to get ready. I think it's Kelly's presentation on frugal feeding. Oh yeah, it's pinned, of course. It's right there. Duh.
Yep. And I'll be feeding babies.
Any other last questions anyone has on baby? I think we're doing this a couple more times. I think you guys will have opportunity to see a couple other people throughout the weekend. So definitely keep attending these. They're a lot of fun.
Yep. I think it's the same time every day. So each day there'll be 3 different people, I believe, which is that's kind of fun. I like that. And people don't feel like they have to be at that one session. They can pick and choose.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. So thanks everyone for attending. Thanks Darcy for hanging out a little bit. It's been fun. And enjoy the rest of CrabCon, everyone.
Bye guys.
Bye.
See y'all later.
See ya.
Mary, thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
So I adopted my babies, my first 2 set of babies, when it's been almost a year. It was September 28th that I got my first 2 from Mary. That experience was amazing. I loved how she packed them, the communication with the team back and forth. It was amazing. Then I fell in love and I had to get 2 more, but it was late October, so it started to get cold here. I live in New Jersey, so she has suggested I get them from Josh's Frogs. So I did that, and I was direct messaging Josh's Frogs. I got 2 more babies. I had to go pick them up at the facility because it was too cold for them to ship them to my house. So it was great. So now I have a total of 6. I have 4 captive bred babies and 2 wild caught. Thank God that I researched them when I first got them. We got them on the shore in Wildwood. We usually go every summer. I didn't know about, I had no information, but I did find Crab Central Station on YouTube, which was extremely helpful with everything. Started them on the PPDS method. The minute we got home, I was able to order everything I needed through Amazon before getting home. So everything was here ready for me to get things started, which was so much easier, So in the baby group and in the Lycos group, you'll be able to see maybe my first posts from my PPDS tanks, which were pretty cool, So I did my research. Yes, my son, this was my son's idea. So when we got to Wildwood, he goes, "Mom, I want hermit crabs." I said, we have a dog, we have a cat, we have a fish. Who's going to end up doing all the work? Of course, me. So took it from there. And of course, they were his and no longer his. Because he does help me. And my 6-year-old does help me. And I don't know if you guys saw the video where she went to school and showed pictures because they did send home a scholastic flyer of hermit crabs. So I took the opportunity. I reached out to her teacher, and she was so impressed. She asked me some information to send her some pictures of the crabs, and my daughter did a presentation in school, which was great. She was kindergarten, but hey,
It was very cute.
it was cute. It was cute. So that's my little story with my captive bred my babies. I have their original shells that they came in here, just so tiny.
I kept mine too.
I love it.
I kept them too, but they were smaller than that.
Well, they were almost 2 years old when I got them from Mary. The second set from Josh's frogs, they were almost 2 as well. So one of them did come in a turbo, which was, you see a little chipped at. But from this, some of them are in this size now.
Yeah.
One of Mary's babies is actually in this size. So total difference.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one is Lolly. She took a turbo, and she doesn't want to let go of that one shell. She is still fitting nice and loose in there, but I guess that's what she likes. So
Some of them like dirty pants.
I have 12 captive bred. I got my first 7 in Lockport, New York, the first crab pond. Unfortunately, I lost one of them. And then I had to adopt 2 more the following year, and then 2 more. And then I actually adopted 2 of the 2019 babies from another person who adopted them from Mary. And so, yeah, I've got a lot of, and some of them are, pretty big size already. They're in my big tank back there. That's why I kept getting more, because they grow too fast. I was like, I want the little babies.
I have 9 of Mary's babies. I got 4 a year ago in May, and then I think the other 5 were in July. I think, if I recall correctly. Anyways, they're together, all 9 of them, and they have 2 wild crabs with them that are still pretty small crabs, but they pal around quite nicely and play together. So they've been super fun to have. And that first box when it came, boy, was it exciting. So you guys probably search it on the Lycos group. We shared that video. It was.
I would love to see a picture of mom and dad, the captive bred babies, mom and dad 2019. I'm just curious, and because all 4 of them are from the same spawn, so
That would be a super cute idea, Mary, to pack a picture of mom and dad with the baby.
Yeah,
so purple. She's just gorgeous.
Darcy says, Trish, you need to start breeding.
Honestly, the science of it intrigues me beyond belief, but I'm too sensitive. I don't have it yet. I would just be crying all the time, because I've seen their struggles, and
yeah,
those ladies got it for now, because I can't.
I know. I had just last week I had one of the biggest baby, Lolly. She's been digging holes, gigantic tunnels, and I'm like, you just came up from a molt not even a month ago. And sure enough, this morning I see that she's towards the front of the glass again. So I'm like, no. And she was down for almost 3 months. So
that's all that good food you've been giving them.
I guess, yeah. I wonder from who.
Yeah, they eat better than I do, Trisha.
I do too. I can't even tell you how many times my husband's given me the look. Like, oh, that smells wonderful. And I'm like, crab food. Oops. I'm not a good human.
When I clean shells, my husband's like, oh, what are you cooking? I'm like, hermit crab shells.
I just pretty much dehydrate the fruits and the vegetables and stuff like that. But the mixes I leave to Trish. I just order a bunch of her stuff. They're crazy.
All the thinking and all the gross stuff, because seafood does not get cooked in my kitchen.
Yeah, I do microwave some shrimp for them every so often. They go crazy. My biggest crab, he loves to drag it off the substrate into behind the wheel or somewhere, so I have to go hunting for it the next day. So I recently started putting it in a skewer and into the substrate, so he can't do that.
That's kind of brilliant.
Yeah, because
Clayton asked, what was the biggest challenge raising the captive bred babies? For me, honestly, like I was still kind of new to hermit crabs. I'd only had mine for about 2 years before I went to New York. And you can't even put into words how tiny they are. You're not prepared until you actually see it. And every time I thought my tank was baby proof, I would find a stuck baby. So, I mean, I would say the biggest challenge was trying to incorporate them into my already established big colony, because I thought that's what was best. They weren't growing in 2019 as fast as we thought they should, so we put them in with the big wild caught crabs on purpose. And man, that was a mess. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And thank goodness plenty others have, put out tips and tricks since then.
yes,
All of us going through what we've been trying to figure out. What about for you guys?
Well, for me, it was, I did put them in my biggest bill in my base tank with my two big wild caught crabs. So they are much bigger, especially Hermie. He is wearing almost a 2-inch opening shell. So right away, he's the whole pecking order thing. He would flick them. I've put videos up on the Lycos group. He just, but it was a gentle little thing. So I was always worried, of course, because they're babies, but they are very tough. They carry themselves well. Of course, I had to baby proof the water pools, but I had 1 gallon pools. From the start, at the beginning, when I first got them, I had the filters, but the humidity was getting a little out of control. So I did change the filters to the filtered bubblers, which helped a lot. But I tried to. I know you can't see it too well, but my water pools, I actually leveled out my sands. With the water pools, just to make them a little higher so that the babies have full access. And I did add the greenery around the pool so they could climb on any angle. But they love it. They didn't like getting into the pools. They didn't like to emerge all the way. So what I did was I just added some rocks and some shells at the ledge of the water pools. So it has like the level of the actual plastic from the water pools, so that they can get on top of it, and if they want to get in all the way, they could. That has helped. So now they always love to get in. But I really didn't have any challenges with them. They just they do need a lot of protein. So I have one of Mary's circle dishes where I always spoon one of these small little spoons that you guys send me. I just put a spoon into the cup because I do change it out every 2 days because the calcium does tend to dry out, it gets hard. So all that powdery calcium does disappear. They're constantly in that dish. So that and they need a lot of fat, So I have, what is that called? What is that you send me, Mare?
Huh?
The Jesus.
I sent you something.
The beef tallow.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's awesome stuff.
which is they love it. I actually
They love that stuff, man.
Yeah, I just put a spoon of it on a flat shell, on the top where it's off the sand, and they constantly in that. So they definitely need a lot of calcium, a lot of protein, of course, and the fats, for a successful molt. Thank God we've had successful molts.
Yeah, I can't even count how many molts. I did it opposite from you guys. My babies are in a nursery tank, and they will be getting upgraded as soon as CrabCon ends to a bigger tank. But so they were set up with everything baby proof, so I didn't have to worry about them getting stuck. I was worried about adding them with bigger crabs, and everybody says it's fine, but I was worried about them getting lost, and I would never see their tiny little selves. And
I know.
I have a separate one again too. I got 5 of the little tiny ones in their own tank again, just because once I put the first batch in the big tank, I never seen them again.
yeah,
And honestly, there's
I wanted to enjoy them.
enough, I can't. I'm like, are you one of Mary's or are you one of my first ones? I can't tell.
Yeah, they do. They grow faster when they're mixed with the bigger crabs. They want, it's like a competition. So and actually my tiniest, I call him Teeny. He's actually the bully. He loves to do piggyback, like Meredith says. He loves to get on. It doesn't matter how many shells are in the tank, and I have like maybe 6 shell shops, and I do scatter some on the substrate. He just likes to hang on, and it's just something he does.
Yeah.
Darcy had hinged about the stuck areas for the babies. Only once did I have one leave a shell. I used the white light diffuser style egg crate, and he had gotten behind it in just the right spot, and his shell was stuck. And I have cameras, otherwise I wouldn't have known what was going on, but he had to leave a shell. So I made sure to secure all those areas, and along the top especially, because the babies love to climb. For as little as they are, you'd be amazed at how high they really like to go. So if you have any kind of egg crate or the cocoa fiber back mats, all of that, they will climb up and get behind it.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind. If you can't find a baby, he's probably behind it.
I know, especially in the water pools. If you have deep pools, a lot of us use the mesh, the craft mesh inside. I did find at first, when I did have that with my smaller water pools, they would end up behind the mesh. So what I did do was just put some extra rocks behind it so they can't get stuck behind that. That would be a good idea if you are using the mesh. Just either put it, because they won't climb up and down if the mesh is just flat straight. They like a little ramp. So just put some rocks behind that. That would be helpful.
Yeah, Darcy, the chola as well. That was another one. They started off when they were small, climbing in the middle of different chola sticks for sleeping or whatever, and just one day got big enough that couldn't get back out. So I've had to break open 2 different chola arms. Definitely keep an eye on the chola.
Absolutely.
Cody, as far as the plants, that's exactly what I did to kind of fix the situation. I zip tied a ton of fake plants and vines all over the back of that egg crate, and it kind of fixed it. So yeah, great idea.
Kathy, the food shops that I use is Trish for sure, because I love the wide range of variety that she has, and she's always making it's just great stuff for them. It might not smell so nice for us, but they're crazy for it. I had to actually make a little platform to put my food trays on top of, because they just make such a mess. And if I put a smaller portion, it'll be gone the next day. So I am changing out my food dishes every day, every night, just because there are 6 of them. 2 are big and the 4 are small captive bred babies. So I have to I have to say Trisha's shop is my go-to for sure.
Right. I buy from Trish and I buy from Mary.
Yes, and Mary. Absolutely.
you wouldn't think someone who does this constantly would be shopping in other shops, but my crabs are over it. No, I have to shop for my friends because they won't eat my stuff no more.
Right.
Cassie, you said, what kind of things would we recommend for decor? If you're like every other female that I've met, we love the little fairy garden stuff. And when you have captive bred babies, you can have a little fairy garden. I've got like a little picnic bench, and I mean, you can pretty much put as long as there's no.
It's super cute.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a crafty
they
person,
love this
so
stuff.
I made like pretty much everything in the baby tank. So.
Yes, I really make my own stuff. My go-to place, of course, is my local dollar store and the Dollar Tree.
Yep.
Let's see, Target does have those the sheets, that greenery sheets that a lot of us use for our background. In my tank, I have one of Meredith's tree forts inside mines. I would never be able to remove it just because the crabs love it, and it gives me more levels in my tank. So I do have a 75-gallon as my base tank, and then a 55-gallon Exoterra on the top. The measurements are totally off, but my husband helped me fill in the gaps and things like that. So everything is hermit crab safe. A lot of flowers from craft stores. But majority of my stuff I've ordered on Amazon because I like things quick. But a lot of flowers. Jute has been my go-to to wrap all the ladders. I made all my ladders out of the craft egg crates, so that is definitely a must. A lot of ladders, a lot of rope, to be able for the babies to be able to climb up and down and across. I have 2 wheels, a smaller wheel on my base tank and a big wheel on the top, just because they all want to get into one wheel and it's definitely not possible. So they have that.
Also, Cassie, you can check the approved sellers list and our vendors in here,
Absolutely.
because most of them have captive bred babies and they've created a market for them.
Yes.
You don't have to worry if they're safe or not either. They're tried and tested by us and we approve.
So these are
non-stinky jute. I have yet to find some, so let me know when you figure out where they keep non-stinky jute.
These are the shells that my babies keep.
Yeah,
You can see them. How tiny
They
are.
grow so fast. It's insane.
When we got them, we did a little photo shoot with blueberries because the blueberries were bigger than the crabs.
Oh, absolutely. They do grow faster. Tina says that she can't seem to find jute that doesn't smell. Dollar store jute. Oh, look at them. Oh,
This is an original 2019, and
Oh
it still is.
he is the same size as my 3 guys. They love these nutmeg shells. It's insane.
Yes, he just went in this one, and like I said, he's one of my original babies I adopted, and he's only this big. So you're never gonna know what size they are until they're that.
I know, and it was hard to find those nutmeg shells, but then Meredith has suggested I reach out to Hermit Harbor, right?
Yes, Evie.
Eddie, yeah, and she had some bigger ones, and the same night that I got them, I sanitized them, boiled them with prime treated water, and I added some ocean salt to it. Boiled it for 10 minutes. That same night, all 3 of them changed shells.
Oh wow!
They don't want to let go of the nutmeg shells. It's definitely a must. But Tina, to answer your question, the jute twine, I order mine from Amazon. You know, to sanitize them, I boil them in some prime treated water, and I just add a little bit of vinegar just to sterilize it, and then just leave it out to air dry, and then that's when I would use for my crafts.
My pup doesn't know what's going on. He keeps coming in and out. Who are these people? Trying to make sure I'm not missing any questions here.
I also order the jute from Amazon. I look for something that's natural and untreated.
Yes.
In fact, this is the latest spool of it that I got, but it'll go a long way.
I have 3 different sizes, I guess, depending on what I want. I have the real big, thick jute rope. That's what I use for my ladder, my bridge on the top. They love it.
They love to climb.
They do.
Cassie, you don't have to have smaller pools, but it eases the mind if you do. And I'll tell you honestly, I got those little 3D printed pools that the Lucky Crab carries with the
Yes.
built-in little bubblers, and my babies love those. They go all the way down in those because I'm telling you, you can't put a price on peace of mind.
Yeah,
So,
they feel safe.
Yeah, my babies love those pools. They have to be cleaned all the time because they're always in there.
yeah.
They think
And
it's
they're so easy to do. I just love it.
Yeah.
I wish she made them like 2.5 gallon size.
Well, Trisha, we just made a bigger size.
Yeah, it's still not big enough. I need
Oh,
big.
Oh, well, yeah, it's big enough for over 2-inch opening crab.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't seen those. I'm gonna have to go check it out.
I just put them out for CrabCon. The picture of the shell that's in the pool on the listing is over 2-inch opening.
Oh, I was rushing trying to shop fast before it was all gone. So.
I said to Mary, I felt like I was on a game show shopping. Like, hurry up, check out.
And I was on my phone. I'm clicking here and on my phone, and I'm like, boy, am I glad we used the same code for everyone this year because I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
Anymore.
The swag box, Cody, was amazing just because we got a sample of all our approved stores. They were great.
There's some pretty great stuff in there.
Yeah, very great.
It was like Crab Christmas.
And my crowd got so excited. Like I said, they're just over my foods for the most part. But I got to put new fresh stuff in there, and they were like, "Oh yes."
So, if you girls don't mind, Kathy wants to see my tank. Let me see if I can.
I want to see your tank.
So this is my base tank. I do have, I don't know if you can see, a little mirror on the corner. They love their mirror here. This is my calcium dish. I have a flower dish with the platform that I was mentioning. Then in the back, I have their staples, which is a dish that I made myself with stones, with silicone. It has the green sand, the worm casting, and such. Here on the tree, I'm not sure if you're able to see the tree for it. I have the shell with the tallow. They have a piece of cuttle bone, and Janie's little sparkle wood, the mallet, their wheel. This little swing I made myself. They have a lot of wood, shell shop.
Your tank looks so neat. Mine is always just trash. My crabs are bulldozers.
I have to fix it every day. They make such a mess. This is my water pools, my gauge, some more wood. They love to climb on this. Their moss pit. And this is a topper.
Oh, I love that. Also, if you want to see your crabs more, this is a good thing to aim for. If they have a lot of coverage and they feel safe and secure, you're
Absolutely.
seeing it more.
I mean,
Exactly. Better your tank.
I'll post some pictures. Thank you. But I'm never completely happy. There's always something I want to change out.
That's what makes us passionate, though.
No.
It's all for the better of the babies, you know? They need new stuff.
Yes, they do.
The crab tank is like a grown-up style house. You know, just constantly decorating it and playing with it, making them stuff, and it's a lot of fun. My babies don't seem to really hide much, but I keep them in the kitchen, and so they're used to me walking by all the time. So anytime I walk by there, there's usually somebody playing on one or more of the wheels. They have 3 wheels in there.
Right.
And they're always going. Sometimes they share, sometimes they don't. But yeah, they're pretty busy in there. And I can usually count 9 out of the 10 in there or 11 in there. Because, yeah, Mary and Poppin are in there with them. So, yeah, they're busy.
Yeah.
Sure. So Regina and Kelly mentioned about the pools. Like I said, I put my babies in with my bigger crabs from the start. So I always had big pools. I just baby proofed it. Like I said, I made sure that there was they had full access to the big pools. Just because I do have bigger crabs, I didn't want them to have something they couldn't fully emerge in. So I just put a lot of ladders near it so they can be, and rocks and shells so they can be able to climb in and out. On the Lycos group, I'll post a little detailed picture and video of the inside of the pools. I did silicone some egg crate ladder type. I just silicone them to the sides. So if for some reason in the deep end they can't get out, which it's impossible with all the rocks and stuff they have inside, they can climb onto that. But I've never had a problem with them not getting in. Purple pinchers are toe dippers. It's sometimes I will see them go all the way in, but most of the time they just like to pick up some water from the edges. But we have to offer it regardless, you know, so they can be able to fully emerge. But I've never had any issues with them not being able to have access to it. Meredith, they want to know, Raquel wants to know, what is your shop?
The Lucky Crab Company.
Yes. She's on Etsy.
So we make lots of different things, and we kind of specialize in items for the babies so that they can have fun too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of our vendors are donate a lot, and especially to the swag, especially for CrabCon. All of our vendors are amazing, I have to say. I love it. Let me see. Okay, so Regina, I have 3 cameras in my tank. I know I'm a bit obsessive. I like to see every angle. So I do have, I know, I have the 75-gallon on the bottom. So I do have the Wise camera, right? That's how you say it. So I do have, I pay for the lifetime membership. So I have the pre-recordings at all time. You can put a little SD card in it to record, but I have 2 on each side. They do come with a magnet with adhesive on the back. I've never had them fall off with the humidity in the tank or anything. So I have 1 on each side on my base tank and then 1 on my topper. So I can see every angle except for the Charlowood area. I do have some of Janie's wood chip pieces, also silicone to the glass because they love to pick on that. I have lots of extra because they do like to eat it, so I'll just replace it when I need to. So they always have access to their wood, so they could chomp on. But um, they all hang on to that magnet. So if I have to remove the camera itself, the magnet disc stays on the glass. If you ever need to remove it, I guess I have tried and succeeded. It comes off with a little butter knife, but you just have to be careful with the glass, of course.
I had forgot about mirrors until I watched Mike's presentation, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. I've been wanting to do that for years. I gotta do
Yes.
that."
It's
So
I put a mirror in the bottom of a flower pot that they have in my wild crabs tank. They have it as a hide or a moss pit, and the mirror is in the bottom and the back. And they go in there and they look at themselves, and the mirror is covered in little antenna.
That's so cool.
It's
yeah, they go crazy when they see
they're
themselves.
like looking to themselves. I'm like, that is so funny.
Yes, I actually I put that in about a year ago. All of my crabs went down to molt except for one, which was Hermie, my biggest. He was alone in the tank by himself for almost 2 months. So Carol has suggested to put a mirror inside the tank somewhere that he can see himself, and it was amazing. It was the best thing. And sometimes I move it around just to give them, something to look for. But they love it, and just got to make sure that I've never had any rust issues. But it's plastic on the outside. Just got at the dollar store in the cosmetic section. Oh, I love it.
As close as I can get it on the baby.
Love it.
And then, yeah, unfortunately, it's corded, so I can't get back there.
What size is that tank in the back?
It's a 150, I believe. Yeah, I think that's the 150. And then I have a 200 in my storage.
Oh my goodness. I definitely want to do something like that. It's just
I've got a 60-gallon breeder that's going to be a topper in a couple weeks.
yeah.
It's one of the original Carolyn Dolphin shirts. It was a gift from Sherry at the first CrabCon. So since she can't be here with us today, I'm bringing her.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Oh yeah, I like one.
So the tree fort I got from the Lucky Crab Co, which is Meredith's shop. I think she made that for me about a year ago, right, Mare?
Yeah, that was, well, when before I got my babies, Mary said that they like to be able to get up close to the heat map.
Yes.
And they need to be able to regulate their temperature. So they needed various ways to get to different heights back there. So I came up with that little tree house for them, and they love it. They're always on it. They climb all the little ladders. They're so cute. And
Yeah.
Recently, our overtime put other things up there. They have like a little rock that's actually a fish hide up on one thing, and they're so cute when they sit in there. And then they have, I found silicone little wine glasses that they have as a hide, or like moss pit up there. And then they have that little fairy beach chair from the Dollar Tree that they love. And they're always sitting on that little beach chair. And,
Yeah, they love it.
It's so funny. And the babies, they'll be climbing around. They're like busy. And then all of a sudden they just knock out. Like it's nap time, and they just like fall over, the legs are being, it's like,
Yes.
like,
Absolutely.
they just totally like burn themselves out, crash for a while, and then they're up again. They don't get as nocturnal as the wild kids. They have naps. And
See, it's opposite for me. My wild caught are out more during the day than the babies, but the minute the timer turns the lights off, it's party time. It's party time for them.
here during the day. They're like, "So what's this?" I'm like, "Hermit crabs," and they're like, "I don't see any."
I remember Trish had posted a video.
Yeah,
I'm
on the
sorry.
video. Yeah, they're like, they actually, the bigger crabs, they're really good about sharing the wheel. There'll be like 4 or 5 of them in there at a time, and some of them just stand like, hold on, and let everybody else do the work, and they just kind of just go around.
Those are my babies. They love to just hitch a ride.
Hitch a ride, yep. And they have an interesting way of playing with the wheel too. I think Trisha posted actually a video last week of her baby using the wheel from the outside. And before we
on his back.
before we did the saucers, the 2 crabs that are in with the babies that are a little bigger, they would do the wheel from the outside. They would lay on their back and turn it from underneath.
Yeah, last night I had one on his back doing this, and there was a baby on the inside trying to hold, and he'd go up halfway and tink,
They're
tink. I'm like,
comical.
really? You're gonna give me a heart attack.
They are funny. I don't understand why they like the wheel so much. I mean, they're just
Fascinated beyond
They
fascinated.
are, but they can't get enough of it.
Well, in the wild, they can walk for miles, you know. So I guess they know, hey, this moves. So I think I'm going somewhere.
The funny thing is the babies have figured out on the saucer that they can. I mean, I wish I could see their butt, because I think they're shifting their weight in their shell, and they make the saucer rock, and it's like they're on.
And you can tell they're in full control.
It's like they're on that.
Deers back up,
a rock.
and then like they spread their legs out and
they
just
spread
walk.
their legs and they get it like rocking. It's so cute.
They're so funny. They're so entertaining, I have to say. My husband always tells me, "What are you doing?" I'm watching my babies.
When my things were in our living room, I don't remember really paying attention to the TV. Now that they're in my office, I'm here so I can see my tanks, but my TV's right out that door in my living room, so I had to have both.
Oh, so Raquel asks, how do I connect my mirrors? So on the back of these mirrors, they have from the dollar store. You can find them at Dollar Tree. They have little suction cups already attached to the mirror, which is so helpful. I was like, oh my goodness, this is meant for the tank. So I can just stick them on the glass with no problem. Let me see.
Yeah, Kathy says her crabs like the little big cork too. Unfortunately, I have not been able to get decent cork. It's like every time I order cork, it's not around that I can cut down like into straight pieces that I can use as a tree. It's all mangled up. I actually literally ordered a box of cork rounds from ZoomEd, and it came with a bunch of little pieces in it, like literally like that big. And I'm like, what is this? Somebody's garbage? They put it back in the box and it weighed enough, and they sent it back to Amazon. I'm like,
yeah, so that's what I use. The base of my swing is a cork round, is just like for cup holder. So
that's a coaster. Yeah, no, like the cork, like real cork bark rounds. That's
okay.
And I was able to cut them down. Like the first box I got was actually like, they were that long and they were about that big around, and I was able to cut them like into 4 sections. And I can't get decent pieces of cork anymore.
So Jean says that her code isn't working on your shop.
Yeah, I responded to her in the chat here. On Thursday evening, we did have a problem with it not working, but it should be now. Everybody else has used it. So if she has a problem, just message me in the shop, and we'll try to figure out why.
Absolutely.
It should be.
So do you guys have any like absolute must listen to tips? I know the one that I would put out there is, I've noticed my purple pinchers, their activity doesn't really change at 80, but the babies definitely like it warmer. I keep my tank about 82, 83, and they're out all the time. And
definitely.
If it's 2 degrees, they just go to that back wall and get to that heater.
Yeah.
So definitely be prepared for a warmer tank.
Definitely. I keep my tank at 82, 83. The heat mat doesn't work as much as it needs to now in the summertime, but you know, it does stay at 82, 82, 81, the humidity. But when it is a little warmer, nothing more than 84, just, to avoid them too hot, because sometimes they'll go to the topper when they do want to get a little cool. But that and let me see. Always the Exo mix always must have in the tank all the time. They love it. Um, like I said, I change out my calcium dish every other day, just because they eat from it so much. I make my own just because they go through it so much. Um,
Well,
let me
they'll
see.
go through and pick out what they want, and
Exactly.
it'll look like it's full, but there won't be anything they actually. So it's
Need.
good to swap it around.
Yes. Let me see. Babies do tend to molt a lot more often than the bigger crabs. I find my guys molting at least every month or two. But they when they're much smaller, they only down for about a week or two. Um,
And they
but
don't seem to dig down as deep.
yes,
I've had several that were just maybe an inch
an
down.
inch. Right.
So you'll have to be careful moving any kind of heavy huts or,
Yes.
cocoa huts or anything that might disturb even
Yes.
the smallest
Even
little.
even the food dishes and things like that.
It is, it is, Kelsey. It's terrifying. And I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've went, oh crap, I did it again. Because
Right.
it took a while to understand these are super tiny. They're they're hardy, but they're fragile, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I do suggest offer them um the beef tallow, just because they do need a lot of fat, because since they do molt so often, I definitely think that's a must. Definitely always offer their staples, their green sands, um, the worm casting, things like
Yeah,
that.
and the babies really love the tannins. Keep
Yes.
lots of bark and leaves
Yes.
because they'll eat that more than anything.
It's so true. Let me see. Any other questions? Any questions you guys might have?
Yeah, or any that we missed. I've been trying to.
Gonna have to talk to Mary about the
I mean,
code. Two people said the code is not working, but I just looked at it. Everything is included in the code, so it should work.
so Regina did ask, and she pinned it. Can she put her tree house, the tree fort on the topper? Um, I guess you can if you silicone it, and because the babies do tend to fall a lot. Um, so if you have some type of base where if they do fall from the tree fort, I guess is it's doable. I kept mine on the substrate. I actually siliconed it to the glass, so it's not completely on the substrate. But um, I mean, I don't think I would suggest putting it high, just because they do fall so much.
Christine, I have um, 14 captive bred babies, and some are in the big tank, but the five smallest ones are in their own. And like I was saying earlier, the strange part of that is one of the small ones in that tank is from 2019. He was spawned in 2018. And then I have some that are pretty big from that same year in the big tank. So all different sizes, and it's crazy. I cannot wrap my head around the science of that yet.
Yeah, it's it's different. It's funny how different they are in size because all of mine are from 2020, and I have still some really tiny ones, and then some that are, you know, wearing a nutmeg shell, about what you showed there earlier, Jessica. So, and of course, if you pick them up and look at them, they're like way in the shell. I know.
They're very tiny.
How are you going to drag that around? They put it on, and I figure they won't last in it for very long, but they do. And they're scaling the ceiling in the like, how do you not fall over carrying that?
One thing I did notice with the babies when I first got them, not now so much, but the sands, you know, how we ratio it. Usually the tiny babies tend to love a little bit more moisture substrate than the bigger crabs. I guess it just makes it a little easier. So I usually what I do is just what I did was I didn't dry out the sand completely, just halfway through, and then mixed the cocoa fiber, because I usually buy the bag that's already mixed, so I don't have to soak it or anything to make the cocoa fiber. So whatever is too moist, the cocoa fiber will suck up. So, I mean, the substrate is still pretty dry on the surface, but you know, when you do the test towards the glass, it's where it should be.
Now, you know how it's normal for the top inch or two to be dry in our bigger tanks, especially with the babies only digging down so far. It wasn't making sense in my head.
Yeah.
So when I made the baby tank back up for the 5 smallest ones, I did that. I made the consistency of sandcastle from the start, and I keep a great eye on it, because those babies just don't dig down far enough to make an appropriate tunnel. So I mean, I know they're going to do what they're going to do, but again,
they don't dig down very deep. I do find now mine are not in my main tank, so their substrate is not as deep because they're so tiny and they're in a nursery, that I do have to occasionally, and I know most people will say you shouldn't do this, mist very close to the top of the sand, just to keep the humidity proper in there.
Right.
Because the top layers of sand do dry, and since they don't have as much sand, they will soon. Soon they're going to have 12 inches of sand.
Oh, puppy wants some attention.
He comes in and squeaks his ball and drops it. The world's not revolving around him. He gets dusty.
Trish, so how deep is your substrate in your nursery tank?
This is the nursery tank.
About 6 inches.
That deep.
It's that deep.
And what would you say that is, Mom? 8 inches. Yeah, about 8 inches in the big tank. I don't have exotics in there, otherwise it would be much deeper.
Right.
Yeah. I'm terrible with measurements, so I'm like, well, that, you know.
So it's funny, my the bottom of the front end of my base tank is about 6.5 inches, and then the pool side is almost 12. And I was telling you that one of my babies this morning, she ended up down there, and she's at the bottom. So I mean, she found her way there.
Yeah.
And she's my biggest captive bred baby. So they do what they want, you know. So I just offer, you know, they just make it happen.
I thought I wouldn't be stressed because I had been a part of Elkos and learned everything. You're gonna always be shocked with babies, and it's worth it though. They're addictive. You'll end up with a bunch of them like me.
That they are.
Yeah, Christina's tank is about 4 inches deep. Um, she says she has trouble keeping them moist. Otherwise, they are, yeah.
My tank is also, currently the nursery tank is 4 inches deep, and I do have to occasionally, and when I spray it, it's very close to the sand to not make it, I don't want to make moisture everywhere, but and that helps keep the humidity right.
Yeah, just because it's only 4 inches, it definitely will dry out a little bit over time. Um, that's why I love to keep it deep regardless. The babies adjust to the tank. If you start them off, in a big tank with the bigger guys, um, they'll make it happen. Just make sure that you provide all the ladders and rope and things like that so they can be able to get in and out of everything without having any issues, because they are tiny, but they are great climbers. So from day one, the minute that I put them on, they already climbed into the cocoa hut, which was far up at the base tank. So they get around if they need it. So just make sure that you cover any places where they would get stuck and things like that.
Out.
In
They
and
are
out.
really good climbers, and they're tiny.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely take some pictures of my pools and post it in the Lycos group, just because, I do have deep pools, and I love the deep pools. It helps keep the humidity where it should be, especially with my topper. But like I said, I wanted to make sure that they had full access in and out of the pool without getting stuck. So I'll post that later. Let me see.
Okay, well, I'm going to head over to the other stage, my friends. It's great hanging out
Okay.
with you.
Well, I don't really see very many questions anymore, other than
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and most of us have the babies now, so this
Yes.
information will be invaluable to those who come back and check it later. I think we covered a lot of the stress points that we all freak out about. I wanted to make sure. I hate seeing someone stress over something. It doesn't matter
Yes.
sometimes you say, "Oh, it's going to be okay." You just have to experience it to
Yeah.
understand.
Absolutely. Thank
I
you, guys.
it's like the first time when they went to bowl, it's kind of nerve wracking, but they do.
Of
fine.
course. They love it's always nerve wracking. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, how many years you've had these crabs. It's just every molt is always nerve wracking,
Yeah.
so they definitely get better treatment than we do. For sure.
Yeah, my kids are grown and my grandkids are real little, so it's all about the crabs right now.
I know. Thank you, ladies. It's been lovely.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Are you able to hear me okay?
You're good.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So tell me about babies.
Let's see. I don't know if you could.
Oh, you have them. That's awesome.
So I have, this is my main tank, and it has my big guys and my babies in it. And then this is my PPDS tank, and soon to be transitioned into a foster tank. And then that's my bearded dragon tank at the moment.
My bearded dragon is right there.
Oh, check that out. And there's a cat post.
There's a dog sleeping on my feet.
Yes, I have one over there too. We are a full-fledged suburban zoo, I feel like.
Yeah. So what made you want to get babies?
Well, just getting super interested in hermit crabs to begin with was just so awesome, and it was so enlightening to learn how the wild caught crabs came to all of us. And as much as I loved ours, it was just devastating to know that that's what they had to go through and that's what they continue to go through. And so when Mary was posting about how she was raising the babies and trying to get them to land and all of that, I just got super interested in it. And it became not only intriguing, but we could change the face of the hermit crab industry, if we could get behind her and Stacy, and I think who else is doing it now?
Sue, but I think she's in Australia. And
Yes, Sue.
Darcy.
I think I said Stacy. I meant Sue. Darcy, who the other one I was thinking of. And it just meant so much to support them through adopting the babies and just trying to change the industry as we know it, which starts with them and starts with the babies. So that's what kind of got me very interested. And they're so cute. You can't turn down those tiny little ones.
Yeah. How long have you had them?
The babies, or so I had two 2019 babies that I've had them for probably about 6 to 8 months now. So one of them I can still tell she's still very, very tiny. And then my other one's starting to blend in with my smaller wild crabs. So I'm trying to distinguish them by personality at this point.
Have you noticed a big difference in the personality?
Yes and no, because I have such a wide variety right now that the two babies I received, one was very shy at first, and we actually named him Houdini, not because he hid, but because he was so fast at moving from place to place. So you would think he was over here, and then you would go to the restroom and come back, and he was somewhere else. But he just blended in so well because he was small too. But he was a little bit shyer. And then the little one was just all over the place and was not shy in the least. But I have some wild caught crabs who are not shy at all either. And then I have one that you don't want to spook her, because as soon as you do, she'll like let go of whatever she's holding on and fall. So if you see her out, you like tiptoe, you crawl underneath and like slowly poke your head up. But I've seen both personalities from my crew, at least. How about you? Did you notice a difference with yours?
I think it might be because I had them in my office and I spent a lot of time sitting by them. I just added them to my big tank, my 150, and there's 12 crabs in there right now, 3 of them being the captive babies. I've seen them a lot more than I really expected to. Everybody's like, I put my crabs in with my baby crabs in with my big crabs, and they all disappear, and I never see them anymore. But my little guys, like, right as soon as the sun goes down, I got a picture of one yesterday. He was like sitting on the edge of the like baby specific shell shop while the big one was in the shell shop. He's like, those are mine. What are you doing?
It's like, back off. These aren't going to fit you.
But they're always right there in the food bowl as soon as the sun goes down, and they're not really scared when you walk by.
Mm-mm. No. And yeah,
my big ones, I have a medium one, and I walked by the other day, and he went the whole 18 inches from the front of the back to the tank in like 4 steps. He was like launching himself. He'd go like, and like suck back into his shell backwards. I'm like, it's okay. I'm not gonna like reach in there.
It's just me. It's okay. You'll be fine. Yeah, they seem to. I haven't lost track of them other than the ones starting to grow really fast. I put mine right in with the big crew. No issues with them at all. Now, when I added big guys to my big crew, there were issues with them.
Yeah.
And I learned about aggression and learned about how to add more shells that are size appropriate to accommodate those sets, more protein, more calcium,
Yeah.
more food, and then that solved the problem right away. But no issues with the little babies.
It'll be interesting when the babies get to be big enough to be like the biggest crabs in like some of the tanks they're in. If you add new crabs that are similar in their size, how are they going to act?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see that. Do you know what Mary's first year of breeding was? Like, what's her first?
Well, I know the first
Like, I saw
crab
somebody said
con-
they have 2018s.
Yeah, I think it was 2018. There might have been a couple in 2017, but I know the first time she gave them to people was at the convention in 2019.
Mhm.
So 2019 would be the first time people got them, and she usually waits till they're at least a year old. So
That makes sense. Are there a lot of people on the chat right now that have babies, or are they just interested in babies? What do you guys have going on? Oh, she had a few smaller batches before the 2018. Okay.
Dan, if you want to come in here, you can.
Come chat with us. Amanda has 6. Wow. So Amanda, what do you do? Do you have them all separated out, or are they mixed in with some wild-caught crabs?
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Hey. They have their own tank, Amanda said. Awesome.
Tell us about why you guys got babies.
I'll let Samantha explain that. We were
You had like some of the first set from the original CrabCon, didn't you?
Yeah. So when I think it was on Instagram because I wasn't on Facebook. I saw that somebody was breeding hermit crabs, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And so I started messaging this woman saying, "Hey, if you have too many, let me know. I'll take them." Fast forward, it came into an adoption weekend, and it turned into the first CrabCon. So we got to actually go to her house and see the babies and take some babies home. And it was just like becoming a new mother, because I mean, they were just tiny. And we had the baby tank all set up for them. We monitored everything. It was a controlled environment to keep them safe. And then people started saying, well, what if we put them in with the bigger crabs? And I was like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't take the kindergartners and throw them into high school. And but we were experimenting, putting one here, one there, adding it to the baby tank. So fast forward to now, one of our babies is about the size of a regular hermit crab now. She is best friends with a full-grown hermit crab. Now the other 3 are still relatively small. So when we get like rescues, we will put the rescues and the little babies in together because they're not aggressive and they're still like little kids and they get along just fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so do you guys go ahead, Dan?
Oh yeah, like with the initial, when she saw them, she's like, oh my god, I gotta have these babies. Like Samantha's almost crying over it. She's like, what if we apply and we don't get it?
No?
It will destroy me. I will be so heartbroken.
Well, the adoption process, it used to be really rigorous. Like I had to take pictures of the heat, the humidity, my substrate. I measured it, the light monitors, the regulators for the temperature, my salt water, fresh water, like everything. So I had to prove to them that I had the right setup to be approved for an adopter for these babies. And I took all kinds of pictures. I documented everything and I submitted and I filled out the form. And I was like, what if they say no? Oh, what if they say no? And I could not sleep that night. I woke up the next morning and I had an email that I was approved. Oh, I jumped, I danced, I cried. It was the happiest day.
Yes.
Next thing you know, we were off in Lockport, New York. And when I saw these tank, all these little tiny babies, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I mean, I just started crying with happiness, and that made Mary cry, and I think Trisha cried, and it was a beautiful time. It was just really beautiful.
Oh, I remember we had to go through that process too, and it was very nerve-wracking, and I had to make changes. Like I submitted stuff, and they were like, "You're doing great, but tweak this, tweak that," and it just made it better for my current crew as well. So it
And it's
was
great
kind
that
of
they do
great to
help,
have
and they will help you.
Yeah. It's funny the way you're talking about that. So my 2 human babies are adopted, and when I was going through the process to adopt the baby crabs, it was, I'm not comparing to my, crabs to children, but it was like a very similar, like, you're nervous, you want somebody to approve you, you want somebody to be like, no, you're gonna be good enough, you're
Yes,
okay,
you're
or
good enough.
you
You're
meet
good
the,
enough, and
the
you've been chosen.
quality, or yeah. So it was like going through a similar process all over again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need people to approve me. And but it was so exciting once you do.
I was actually too scared to like even apply. So I was an approved adopter and approved to foster and an approved seller and a moderator. And I'm like, I just can't get these babies. It's just like so much stress. They're like these little magical things, and they've taken so much care, and they've been personally looked over for a year, and it's just too much. And then Mary reaches out and she's like, you're gonna have to get some babies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Well, setting up
So I
You don't
got
want to
it.
let
It
Mary
was
down.
it was
the baby
just
tanks, we wanted to make
so
sure that they couldn't get hurt. Can their little legs get caught in this? What if they fall from there? What are they gonna? It was
Yeah.
actually worse than having children, because they're going to get into everything. They're going to climb all over everything. What can they get stuck behind? Will they be able to get out? Yeah. We watched them all the time. Then they go down to molt. Oh, we freak out. How long does it take a baby to molt? They don't have that much, shell to get rid of. But now, the one that's pretty much all grown up. She's in a regular, was like a pearl turbo.
Was it a pearl or was it a green?
Oh, that one's in a pearl. Yeah, her and little Chickie are best friends. They're always curled up together. And then the 3 babies are in with one of our rescues. Because some of our rescues have been like really tiny. One was found in a garbage can.
Oh,
One
honey.
was found, it was a bacterial bloom. It was a 10-gallon tank that had about 50 pounds of echo earth smashed into it. And this
Wow.
one was just running back and forth. I did dig out the whole time. I mean, I digged everything on the tank. It was like a brick. And the other crabs were so dead that they were liquefied. There wasn't even a shell left. So we have the one Bowser. He's still in there, and he's with the babies. And they're all best friends. They all take care of each other, and they snuggle up together. And
That's
the
great.
babies are
So
really
sweet.
good for like the rescue crabs that have had really bad time, hard life, because they don't know aggression or whatever they've been through. So the babies are actually like the friends for the rescues.
Yeah. They're like therapy crabs for the big crabs.
Yes. That's so sweet. Oh, Michelle just ordered some babies. Oh, Michelle. When are yours coming in, Michelle? Oh, and Mike has 2 coming in too. Oh, that's so exciting. Are you guys nervous? Are you nervous the way we all were? Michelle's hoping they come in on Tuesday.
And I think the biggest thing with the babies, because you see all the pictures online of how small they are, and you realize they're small, but then when you actually see them in person and you're holding one like that in your fingers and you're like, oh my God, these things are so tiny and I have to make sure it lives. It's like a whole, like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into?
They seem so delicate.
Yeah. I
And
got
they're-
3 and the little itsy bitsy deli container. I was like, I can't believe they all fit in there so comfortably.
Yeah, and you talk to Mary and she's like, oh, they're just fine. Just treat them like regular crabs. They'll climb and they'll fall and do whatever. I sucked them up in a baster so many times and sucked them out, and they're used to it, so you'll be fine. And it's like, whoa, really?
They really are. I mean, from my experience, yeah. They didn't have any issues adjusting. I did put in like smaller, like I kept my regular water dishes, and then I put in a smaller one that was just primed water. And I put 2 of Mary's little ramps on it, and then I put little ledges on my big ones. and I haven't had any issues with them. In fact, my bigger crabs like the smaller dish, and then the little ones are like toe dipping off of like the ledge of the bigger ones.
When I moved my baby crabs into my big tank, I like added multiple ladders on like all sides. They're so funny. They climb up and they're like full-size tanks with the black rims. So my like fountains and bubblers will like put a little bit of water on those black rims. So I see like all of my crabs now. I think the babies taught them how to do it, but they like go up there and they like toe dip off that black rim in the corners where like the most water gathers. It's so cute.
Yeah. Did you guys, Dan and Samantha, did you guys make special water dishes for the babies, or what did you guys do?
Yeah, we got these little tiny, like the Exoterra bowls, like just those little ones, because they're the smallest ones you could find. And then I put them in there. Yeah, they're on the shelf. And I realized that even though we think they're small, if a baby would fall in, there'd be no way they could get back out. I was like, oh no. So I took the little like gravel rocks, not the painted ones, just the normal ones, and I siliconed them all the way around, and I put steps on the one side so they could actually get down in and crawl back out so they won't drown.
Yep.
Yeah, we had to
I like
modify a
that
couple
mesh.
things just to make sure that they could get in and out. And like the food dishes, like we got the little shell dishes, but I actually had to put them down into the sand so they could crawl in and crawl out, because they're glossy on the inside, so they could just slide and not get back out. Ugh. Yeah, we got it.
I use the dollar store little paint ones that are just like that shallow. And
Yeah, we
then,
didn't
like
have
you
it in
said,
back
just
then.
kind of
They came later.
put it in the sand. Oh, and Regina's getting some babies on Tuesday too.
Yeah, here's the one thing we actually made for on top of our tank.
Oh my gosh. That is so cute.
That is so cute.
Oh yeah, we're just the happiest parents because we just got babies. We're telling everybody, we got babies, and they're looking at us like, oh, you got babies? What crabs? We're big crabs.
We have crabs.
Yeah. Everybody knows we have crabs now.
Yeah, I think once you get really into it, the locals all seem to know you as like a crab person or a crab couple or whatever.
Yeah, like what was it? For the 2020 CrabCon, we did a thing on foods and where to be able to source, and there was a health food store that sold individual items, and we asked them about taking pictures and stuff because we're doing a presentation on hermit crabs, and they were like just looking at us weird, and it's like, yeah, they can eat more than like the pellets and stuff. The pellets aren't good. They love all these items in your shop because they're all natural and organic and everything. And they were like, well, we normally do not let pictures, but since you take such great care, you're allowed to take pictures for that. So we're known as, oh, you're the crab people.
And it was like rose petals and dandelion leaves, raspberry leaves, stuff like that you get in your natural food store. And so we were just documenting everything, and they had no idea. So we educated them a little bit on hermit crabs, without even trying.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so fun. We grow our garden on the deck this year has different plants that the crabs can eat, and I have a bearded dragon. Savannah also has one. I don't know if you guys are into the reptile piece, but we have bearded dragons also, and so I mix those foods. Like they all like the dandelion greens. I don't know if we've done rose petals for the dragon yet, but it's fun to be able to serve all of your animals naturally healthy food that you can get, at places like that. What's everybody's favorite food shop then?
I like this two old crabs.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't pick a favorite.
There's so many. They're so good.
Yeah, and everybody, I mean, they have the same concept of nutrition and balanced meals, but everybody has a different idea of what the combination should be. You know, everybody's given proteins, calciums, the whole 9 yards, but everybody has different flavors. You know,
Right.
Trisha, 2 old crabs, hers are great, but hers are also different from the hermit grub.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or crab cuisine. And our crabs love all of them, absolutely all of them. They're all mixes. But we know that these are all ones that we can trust because we know where it comes from. We know what goes into it. We know that they love the crabs. They're looking out for the nutrition. So we like to get from everybody, and we don't have to worry about what our crabs are eating because we know it's all good.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Once I found the crab groups online and then started going to Etsy, well, looking at the approved sellers list and then going to Etsy and seeing everybody's shops and stuff, that alone became an addiction for me. Like
Yeah.
I have an entire pantry drawer just dedicated, and I'm sure all of you guys do too, just dedicated to food for the crabs.
Is it a drawer?
These 2 beds.
Oh, we're above a drawer, right?
No.
It starts off as a drawer. You will have cabinets, you will have pantries, you will have whole
Yep.
closets. You are new in your addiction here. Let me tell you, it's going to grow.
Do you want to?
Just gets worse and worse, better and better, not
I'll
worse
leave
and
that there.
worse.
I'll just spray.
Oh no. Well, you could just
I'm gonna,
zoom over and.
underneath our 65, I have bins.
Yep.
That's a good
Under
idea.
there. And right behind us here, under the 55, that's bins and bags and totes. You name it, leaf litters, bugs, worms, anything and everything. We're actually running out of room, but we don't want our crabs to get bored with their foods. We want them to have something new, and they have so much new. We could probably feed another 6 or 7 colonies with what we have.
Yeah.
And we just bought more.
I give away a lot of food, like to people who are trying, like local folks who are trying to better their crab situation. Well, first they try to see if I'll take them, and I'm like, I'm maxed out. I can't take anymore, but I can help you take care of yours. And I'll give them like all the, because I buy so much. I'm like, here, you can have all this. And they think I'm giving them like hundreds of dollars worth of food. And I'm like, no, it's really not that bad. I mean, I do have hundreds of dollars worth of food, but like you can still feed them such a variety without spending that kind of money if you don't have it or don't want to.
Yeah, like that's what happens with us a lot. Like it's funny because I'm a mechanic at an amusement park, so I work with other like guys and mechanics, and then they're talking about dogs and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, we have hermit crabs, and they're like, oh, we had them, and it's the usual. Had them, and we got them for the kids, and they died.
Got them at the beach. They died. Oh, I had them. They died. It's the same story over and over.
Yeah, and then I'm always like, well, here's what our tanks are like. Holy crap! And they're like, and then it's like you have to feed them, and then if they have them, I'll make sample bags. Here, try this stuff. Put this in, and then they're like, they can eat that. I'm like, yeah, pellets are terrible, and like once they figure it out, they will devour it, and they're like, oh my god, you were right.
Yeah. Do you guys notice, Savannah, do you notice anything with difference with food regarding the babies? Like, I don't think I've noticed any difference. Mine seem to all equally like everything.
Yeah, I think so too. I know there's like, it's like good to have like more ground down stuff. I know they'll like pick through like calcium mixes and get out all the like more powdery stuff and just leave the bigger stuff, just because that's what they're capable of getting like down. So it's important to like change that out, even though it looks like it's full. The babies may have picked everything they can handle out of it.
Yeah, I had to learn that. I didn't realize that until, I can't remember if it was maybe Carol. Maybe she said that, somebody on one of the low cost groups said that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that they were only picking what they needed. So it looked like it was full, but I still needed to change it out because they had gotten all their nutrition out of it.
Yeah, I think Kelly was mentioning
good thing
that.
to learn.
Oh, and I believe that Carol had a baby dance she did when she got hers.
Oh yeah, that video she posted. Oh my god. Yeah,
I
she
remember
danced.
that.
Yep.
Carol is hilarious. I love her.
Do you want to
Yeah,
come
she
on,
did her
Carol?
own
Did
Krabby
you figure out
dance.
your
Yeah, I
audio?
think she did that dance when she got that big box from Jeannie too, of the moss and the bark and everything. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
Savannah,
Yeah.
I think you made my baby the baby wheel.
Uh-huh.
I was just painting my stand, so I have some of my stuff all scattered. But you made the baby wheel and the baby like obstacle course, right?
Yep.
I
that
love
baby
those.
wheel,
Those were
I wish
cute.
you would have come out with a long time ago because we were trying to figure out how to make a baby wheel and we just couldn't do it. And but yeah, that
Have-
baby wheel is great.
Have you seen
Lots.
Meredith's saucers? She's got those super cool,
Yeah.
like, I think she calls them like merry-go-rounds with like the big stairs going up to them.
Yep.
Those are cool
Oh, I
too.
saw that. Those are cute. I was looking at those. Those are so much fun. The babies are awesome. Don't they kind of just bring a new spark to everybody and to the tank? And
Yeah, and
Just
what's
kinda-
really nice is when you get like either store bought or adopted or rescued, you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what their health is like. You don't know what their moods, their attitudes are like. So when you get the older crabs, you have to learn them. You have to observe them and see what they do, what they don't do, what they should be doing. But with the babies, you don't have to worry about that because they're babies. They haven't been through anything
Absolutely.
bad. They haven't been injured or traumatized. They haven't been bullied. So they get to learn just how to be crabs, just normal baby crabs, and grow up. And they don't have to fight for their lives.
right, right.
That is nice.
It is. And it's fun to be able to watch them grow, see the difference in how they grow, how they're so different from each other. And then, you kind of estimate some of your wild caught crabs, their age, you're just like, oh, they're probably such and such age. But it's so cool to be able to see, when these babies were born. It's almost like a different attachment.
And what's really neat is the babies that we have, they were all born the same time, but they're all different sizes.
Mhm.
So that just goes to show us that you can't tell how old a crab is by the size. These are all the same age, and I have ones that will fit in my hand and ones that you still have to pick up with two fingers because they all just grow at their different rates, which I think is really neat because just like humans and every other animal, they don't always grow at a certain size. You can't say, well, that's a 5-year-old crab because look at the size. You have no idea.
Yeah. That's what that taught me. That's what having the babies showed me that firsthand, which was cool. Hey, Dakota. So what do you think, Savannah? Should we like ask if anybody has specific questions or?
Yeah, if anybody has questions for us, all three of us, or a specific one of us, go ahead and ask. Or if you have babies and you want to talk about them and you want to hop on.
Oh, I'll get it out of the way. Sorry, Dakota, but they're not shipping to Canada.
Oh gosh, be careful! She'll pop on and yell at you.
Dakota's going to have to start her own Canadian breeding thing on her own up there. There we go.
There's some ideas.
Yeah.
Dakota says you suck.
I do believe, though, there were some Canadian adopters at the first CrabCon.
You just need
That's
to
pretty
get
cool.
you just need to get like a really big bucket of shells and just like set them in there and then just be like, don't pay attention to the bucket of shells.
There's nothing in here.
Yeah. Did you guys need to measure your babies? For
What do you
growth?
mean?
I haven't yet. I have lots
I
of pictures of them on like various different things.
That was part of us with the initial adoptions. We got these little cards that were like round, and you would have to try to get your baby to measure their
Their leg span.
leg span.
Yeah.
Oh,
your baby sit still.
I've
and make their
seen the
legs
card.
dance. They're so fast. I mean, they just take right off, and you can't just catch them because they're so small. Oh my goodness, it was fun. It was nerve wracking. It's like can't get the measurement on the legs. It won't stop. Or they calm
Was it
themselves.
to help with like research?
Yeah.
Was she using that for research?
It was like what every 3 months we had to do a measurement.
Yeah, like we would keep like kind of the parameters of our tank, and if we were trying different things, and just sort of report back in to see how growth might be different from ours versus like Carol's or Trisha's or Stacy's, so that way they could sort of maybe form a baseline on hermit crab growth, because you get crabs you don't know how old they are. So it was trying to figure out how they might progress in the wild too. But
Yeah, that's a really good idea. That's interesting.
yeah, and I believe our determination was because even us having crabs from the same batch of and everything, with having standardized, everything was the same when Mary had them. We didn't have crabs separated in different tanks doing different things, and we had some that were giant and some were still tiny. And what we thought was it was basically the babies, it was nature's way of protecting. So if there might be a food shortage in the wild, maybe the larger ones might not survive, but because the little ones need less nutrients, perhaps they can get by with that. So that whole year's worth of babies might survive.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Or like with any animal, you always have the runts of the litter. You always have some babies that are going to make it and some that won't. Now, in this batch, if it was out in the wild, probably a lot of them would have made it. But since we have them, they got to live. So now we got to see like maybe how the runts grow and how the bigger ones really take off because they don't have any predators.
It's true. It's true.
Yes, Carol, we put our babies in with the wild caught.
Actually, I put the wild caught in with the babies to see how they get along. Therefore, if they don't get along, I can pull them back out and put them in the other tank. Because if you put a baby in one of these tanks, you're not going to see it again. It's going to burrow. It's good. Yeah. I like to have them where I can see them so I can watch them. Because they like to hide and they like to go all over.
I put my 3 babies in my 150. And I do see them more than I thought I would.
Ours did very well.
Yeah. But now some of our rescues had a tendency to be aggressive. So we've had to move crabs from tank to tank. So we really had to watch who gets along with who. And so as some of our smaller rescues would get bigger, like I'd say they go through puberty because then they try to mate. And it was just too aggressive for the babies.
Oh, what a cute picture. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
we're getting some more questions.
Do you hold your babies?
I haven't.
I do not.
No.
We would for like the measuring purposes, which Mary was like, yeah, pick them up. I've been picking them up and holding them all the time. You can do that. See if they become used to you from doing it. But we kind of just stayed hands off.
See, I do hands off because my places are really humid and sometimes the temperature isn't always steady. And I don't want to take any chances of compromising their health.
Yeah.
They have a controlled environment and they're thriving in it. So I'm afraid that I will mess up their breathing or their gills or something if I bring them out into this area. Plus, I live right in town. There's a lot of traffic, pollutants and stuff like that. So I don't handle them.
Yep. I don't handle any of mine either.
Nope.
I have pets that like to be handled, and they get handled. The crabs, they're for watching and loving through the glass.
Yeah, and I was only ever pinched by a baby. It wasn't much of a pinch, but I was holding him to get pictures, and he was getting me right on the side of the nail. You just pinch.
Ooh. I was pinched by one back in the day before we knew anything and got our crabs from a beach shop when I was, second, third grade, whatever it was. And I still remember that pinch to this day. So I'm okay. If they're supposed to be in their tank, they can stay in their tanks.
Yeah.
I think we missed a question, Savannah. Somebody asked about how we shop for baby shells.
Go ahead.
Ken Lipe Shell Store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did have.
I would say same as the regulars.
Yeah, Ken Light did have a baby bundle on eBay a while ago, but he's actually one of the vendors in the expo, so you can probably directly message him in his Etsy shop and tell him you're getting like babies from Mary, and he should be able to hook you up.
Yeah, he knows what shells they like and what sells.
Can you guys put his name in the chat for everybody, or can you say it again and I'll add it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, down here.
I might be able to grab his.
Yeah, the shell.
Carol added it.
Okay. Yeah.
We need to get done soon.
Here's his
Yeah, Ken Lipe, the shell store.
his event,
Awesome.
his booth.
Awesome.
Yeah, like to give an idea of how.
Oh, he's not gonna do any harm.
Cute.
No, it was more he was mad and he was. Well, they were such a pain because they would start coming out of their shell, and then they'd come out enough and see, oh nope, they're there and he'd hide.
Yeah.
And then finally, as soon as they would get up and I'd be there with my camera, like to take a picture, they just get up and take off. And it's like, really? They were so tough trying to do that.
I remember when one of mine first changed shells, and I had a whole bunch of little ones, and he ended up picking what I thought was too big of a shell, and it looked like he was just weighed down trying to like climb stuff up, like climb up everything, but he had plenty of other options. I triple checked, and he just liked his bigger, heavier shell for some reason. He was building up his muscles.
Yeah, but like with the babies too, you really need to watch because they can totally disappear inside of shells. So you have to really, really watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how often you take your shells out to wash them. I rinse them often out of the salt water and put them back in because they get all icky. And I know there was at least twice when I was picking up the shells to dip them, a baby had come out. And I was like, oh, you're not a shell, you're a baby. Because they get back in there. You get
Yep. Mine have gotten inside of, I have some pretty large ones, and they've gone in with their shell into the bigger shells, and you're like trying to straighten everything out, clean it up, and I was like, whoops, here you go. Oh, Christina's picked ones that are too large for them too.
Yeah, and I do know, like Mary always stressed too, that the babies are in great care right now, so you don't need to quarantine or ISO them.
Yeah.
They can go directly into whatever crabbitat you have, because a lot of people were putting them in isolation to quarantine, and it was actually doing more harm than good. So if you are getting crabs, they can go directly into whatever crabbitat they're going to be put in.
And I think to add on to that, Savannah, you had said earlier about the calcium. Maybe we should mention that again for if anyone just joined a little bit later, how important the
they do need extra
supplements
calcium
are to them.
And they do a lot of molting, so the calcium is very important.
And they will. You'll see them digging through and picking out all the little bits that they can have. So you got to keep that changed.
Mine seemed to. Did you guys like gravitate towards the heaters more? Like they would climb up a little bit higher. They would be right against the
Yeah.
The heat pads.
I had boxwood on the back of my tank, and they'd always sleep. They'd like gather inside the boxwood leaves and sleep against the
Yes.
heater.
You make the purple box one too, right? The see, I think my whole tank is from you, Savannah. Because that's where the one that I could named Houdini. That's what he does. He'll go in through the purple box leaves and hide up in there right against the heat pads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know, like somebody had crabs and like the babies, and I think they do need a place with a lower humidity, which is usually somewhere right next to a heat pad, so they can kind of dry out because their exoskeletons are so thin and tiny that like otherwise they won't harden, and they kind of sort of will turn to like a mush if they don't have a place to dry out.
Oh yes, Mary's Exo mix is great. Absolutely, that is perfect for them. They love it.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree. And she also had, I'm sure other shops have it, but that very tiny baby shrimp, like we're talking like teeny tiny baby shrimps.
Like the brine shrimp?
Mine really, it's probably more like brine shrimp. They were very, very tiny.
Yeah.
And mine really liked those tinier ones. Baby shrimp. Thanks, Carol. Any other questions for people? Savannah, how long do we have?
As long as we want. As long as you're willing to stick around.
I sent the kiddos with the husband, and like I get to top crabs. See you guys. Christina's drag Mary's krill all around. They do destroy the tanks. Do you guys get not frustrated, but almost like you spend a whole day just beautifying the tank, and then your guys just come like the next night and just have this huge party, and it's just all scattered all over again?
It used to bother me, but then you get used to it because you can look at it pretty, take a picture because that's the last time you're going to see it pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, she's used to putting up with me.
Mine started like that, but I think I've slowly like figured everything out. Like this hook got longer and the food bowls got taller, and
in my one tank I had a piece of cholla just sitting there for one of the crabs to go through, and I actually watched them dig a hole, turn the cholla up to make a tunnel to go down in.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought maybe I was just losing my mind. So I'd pick it up, and sure enough, they'd go back, dig the hole, and put the cholla down in like a pipe. So I think the crabs are a lot smarter than what we give them credit for. And I do think that they put things in certain places for a reason.
I think you're probably right. They do that. Like I put shells, like mine have like 3 main food, like sets of food dishes. And then I fill up shells with like the extras, the calcium, green sand, worm casings, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I've started to lose shells. I'm like, I swear I put 6 in. And then the next time I go to change them, there's only 5 and they're burying them. And
yeah,
I don't know what they're doing with them. I just go buy more.
I don't know who told us or where we heard it, but somebody once said that if they don't like shells, they will bury them, like to get them out of the way. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Every so often we have to go in and like clean out, maybe some food, or if they drag out food and there's mold. And every so often I'll find a shell down there. I'm like, oh no, it's a shell. No, it's just a shell they didn't want. They buried it. Get it out of the way.
That is interesting.
One thing I did notice that the babies would do every now and again is they would drop shells, but it would only be to run from this shell to that shell, try it on, then try back on.
Yeah, the babies.
I haven't watched mine change shells yet.
Yeah, because we always kept them in one area, but these shells randomly scattered, and I'm like, what are they doing? They would just run around, put on that pair of pants, and run around, put on that pair of pants, and
Well,
I have
guess
not got to witness my babies change shells, so I have no
No, I haven't
idea.
seen them, but that's the only way those shells are
Like,
getting
that's
older.
what you could.
Because you guys have the babies. So you know for the
Yeah.
shells to end up all over, they're up to something.
Right. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a toddler with a diaper, and they don't want it on, and they'll just take it off and go streaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Oops,
So
somebody
one
was asking us if there's any breeders. None of us on the video are breeders, but I don't know if anybody who's watching us right now.
He tried.
They're probably
He
on
did.
the main stage.
He did try, and it was very difficult. How long did you
Yeah.
have him for?
Oh, I
10
had
days or-
maybe 10 days. I had strawberry Zoea after the first crab con. But like with my situation, like with work and everything, I wasn't prepared because I had a strawberry with eggs I gave to Mary at the first crab con. But I think the disruption in her with the travel and everything threw her off, so she didn't drop the eggs correctly. But then, like a month after CrabCon, I was like getting ready to go to work. I looked in, I'm like, what did they drop in the water? And I'm like, oh my God, there's Zoea. And the crabs were still in the water, like releasing the Zoea. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm
Yeah.
not ready to
Daddy.
to do this.
Not ready to be a daddy yet.
But
Wow.
with
That would have been cool to see, though.
It was really neat. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But it is so much work. So these breeders that even make it, even if they don't survive, it takes so much work, so much dedication, so much studying, and I really commend them for what they do, because you basically have to give up your life to make sure that they live.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful when it happens. It is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think I read that all of our support with buying these babies, adopting these babies, goes to help them
yeah.
so that they can sustain that and do that for the industry, so that we can get rid of harming the wild caught crabs. So
Yeah, so they're very important
it's
to the
huge that we support them.
Yeah, and with the small shells for Megalopa, Mary was talking about it yesterday, but she said that they're basically sand size. They can get stuck underneath your nail and everything, so I don't think there's such a thing as too small of a shell. No, let me find. I'm trying to go through my phone. But there were.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, look at the eyes.
Wow.
It's really heartbreaking.
See,
because
Carol.
you watch so quick, and you watch them grow, and you can see the eyes, and then you just see them dying one by one, and your numbers drop, and you're panicking, and you try to do everything you can. And
Here's the.
Oh, look at them.
And it's so romantic because he holds her as she's releasing the babies.
I didn't know that. Wow. How sweet.
If you haven't, or if anybody who's watching hasn't, definitely go check out all of Darcy's blogs on her tries. I was crying so hard when she was laying on the floor going, ah. I was like, no, and it was just so painful to watch, and they just put so much work and passion into the little babies.
They do. They do. Since you're pulling up pictures, Dan, I'm trying to find some of my, at least them as babies. This is Houdini when I first got him.
Oh, that's an interesting shell.
Yeah, I think he came in that one. That wasn't one that that I had picked out for him, but really liked it. Oh, this is my this is Francisco. He's the tiniest one.
Yeah, I remember those kind of shells, except they're all orange. I like the colors on that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they were periwinkle
Is that,
shells.
I think that's what they're called. Yeah, they loved them.
If this gives anybody a size of a little bit more perspective size of how tiny he is, this is Savannah. Is this one of yours too?
Yeah, that's actually on the house that I built. I used one of them as the pergola. So this is that size. So like fingertip to like the space between those little
That's how.
lines there. That is.
So
he
that's a
is
2019 crab. At when was this? This was in like January of this year. And he's maybe just a little bit bigger now.
I think it's about maybe a year or two ago. Somebody in the crab community was having an auction on all these shells that they didn't want anymore. And it was, so I went on, I started bidding, and some jerk kept, outbidding me. And I had no idea who it was. And so I started off at like $10, and I ended up paying like $30-some for this big bag of shells. And so I won, and I called him. I was like, "Oh, I won it!" And he didn't say anything until like just a couple weeks ago. But inside that bag of shells, there was these little tiny green turbos, and I was like, "That's what I won them for, was baby turbos, because I know all my other ones are turbos." So I washed them, boiled them, and everything. And here, a lot of them ended up taking the green turbos. And it was really cool because you watch them go from little baby shells to like the big boy shells. Now they had the green turbos. And I was like, oh, they're growing up. So now everybody's in turbos and they love them.
Yeah. Mine seem to like those too. There's another one. I don't know if you guys can tell. It's just one of those little bridges. That's literally like, he's just so tiny. So tiny.
I think it's great how everybody's making more baby crab things, because back when we had ours, you didn't have baby crab sized anything. You had to go with what you knew and try to make what you can. But now they can go shopping and buy things specifically for that size crab, which I think is wonderful.
Yes.
And keep that up, because as long as we're going to have baby crabs, we're going to need baby toys.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's so fun to see all the little options that you have for them. Like when I first got mine, I made like a baby section in my bigger tank, and that's where I put their little wheel, their little playground, and like kind of gave them their own little thing, but they didn't stick to it. They wanted to explore everywhere, and then my big guys would just knock sand over everything, and I'm like shaking it out every time I changed the food. But it was good enrichment for the big guys too, like climbing over it and hiding popcorn in it. They would go and like try to pull out the popcorn.
Aquila, what size tank? We started ours off in a 29-gallon.
And they're still in that.
Mine are all in this one. It's an odd one. I think it's 92 gallons. Mine just went right in there.
I started mine off in a 20 long, and then I upgraded them to a 29, and then I added them into my 150 with all my other crabs. But when they were alone, they were in a pretty small tank. I think this Exoterra with the front opening doors that are like 40 gallons would be absolutely amazing for babies. They're like just 6 inches deep. So
I think it was Mary that had once said about how we keep the babies in their controlled environment. And there was talk about putting them in with bigger crabs so they could learn how to be crabs. Like how you watch your parents on how to do things, just like in the wild. Babies always watch the bigger ones so they know what to do. And so we had put in some of our smaller rescues with the babies to see what would happen. And that's exactly what happened. The babies started following them around and doing what they were doing and getting into the wheel. Yes. So the bigger crabs are teaching the babies how to be crabs. because the babies had nobody to really look up to and to follow to get these different behaviors.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's kind of
people
like
do that with puppies, kittens, all sorts
Yeah.
of.
It's just no part of nature. But we had never thought about it because being the new parents, you want to protect them and keep them safe and keep them isolated. You know, you want to protect them from everything. But then we thought
Yep.
about, like, well, how are they going to know what to do unless the big guys show them how to do it? And yeah, and they
Right.
become friends. They've made bonds, and it's really nice.
Yeah. You were saying, I think you guys were saying that one of yours rides on the back. Or was that you, Savannah? One of mine rides, will ride on the back of one of my bigger ones here and there.
I haven't seen them like ride around, but I've seen them like climb on top of the other while they're like sitting places.
oh yeah, they do that all the time. Not so much now because they're bigger, but when we first got them, it was like the big crabs had a little tail following them around everywhere and like kind of like
Mhm.
pestering them all the time, like you would see like a lion laying there and the cubs crawling all over the mom. It was very similar
Yes.
to like that. Like, are you my dad or are you my mom? Play with
Yeah,
me.
like,
Play with me.
hey. Yes,
To go-
yes. Come on, let's go.
Dakota said they would be her crabs would be bad influences. They're bad boys and girls. Maybe the babies would add some brain cells to the rotation.
Yeah, I can see that. What about, I just had a question and it just fleeted from my mind. Oh, we were talking earlier about molting with the babies. What have you guys noticed with yours? Mine seem to go down a lot, but not for very long periods of time. Maybe a week.
Yeah, if that, maybe.
Well,
Mhm.
back when we were all on lockdown for COVID, when you couldn't leave your house for 2 weeks, all the
Yeah.
crabs took that personally, and they all went down for the whole time I was in lockdown. I had pet sand and everything else.
Oh,
So yeah,
so
they were
heartbreaking.
I went back to work, and everybody came up.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Of course.
I got mine and they like all three of them went down right away, but then two of them came back up and I didn't think the third one came back up. And it was about 6 months and I just kept seeing two of them and I was so worried and so scared, but everybody was like, it'll be okay. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
one day I saw all three of them. And I'm like, you have
Oh.
been playing tricks on me for 6 months. You've just been switching out and wearing identical shells. And so I really have no idea how long they were molting for because they were all taking turns.
Oh, look at that.
That's inside one of the baby pots that I make. Those little tiny.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Christina, same. Mine seem to go down. Mine don't seem to go down for a full 2 weeks, but maybe a week. But yeah, very often it seems like.
There's a little. Well, you could see for size for crafting mesh.
And the zip tie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, look how tiny.
They're so small.
Oh, they're just adorable.
Look at how speedy he is, though.
Oh, they were fast.
I feel like they are
Very fast.
super fast.
Yes.
They are fast.
But they don't
Eves
stay
never
small
gets
for
the
very
brain
long.
cell. Dakota.
I need to get a drink. Into these orders.
Trying to see. I have one with one of my big ones with one of the babies. Oh, we were talking. Remember how we were talking about them? You have to be careful. These aren't. One of them is one of my babies. One of them's a regular one. We were talking about you have to be careful about them going behind things. They pulled my box stuff down.
Yes.
And got right behind it on the tank.
Mine love being
Oh
behind the
yeah, they
box.
climb wherever they want to go, and it's like, no, don't go behind the background, but they climb down there, then climb back out.
Yep. And you're trying, like, I'm trying to fix it. I'm like, why won't this stick? What's behind there? And I don't know if you guys can really tell, but like, for me to see it on the other side of mine, I have to get like a little step ladder. So I'm like
Oh.
trying to see what's there. Oh, look how cute.
When I was setting up my 150, I had 2 panels of egg crate, and then I hung the boxwood so it overlapped the egg crate a little bit purposely, so it'd stick out about that far from the wall. So in the morning when I turn the light on, they like all go up the egg crate and back down the back.
They're so funny. Do you feel like, can you tell the difference between yours based on personalities?
Some of
At least
them,
some of them.
yeah. Well, we have one, which it's funny. We call it Big Baby because it's the biggest baby we have, which is he's probably in like a half-inch opening or so now, maybe slightly larger. But he is like the biggest scaredy crab, and he'll just, if he sees you, he runs and hides. And some of the smaller ones just don't care, and it's very funny because it's like what a big baby, and it's like, well, that's what he
Yes.
is.
Yeah, basically that is 100%. That's how I can tell. I'd say half of mine by a little over half based on personality, which most people think is crazy. But if you watch them enough, like I have 2 cameras, one on each side. I did have 3, but I let the bearded dragon have one. So maybe on Prime Day.
Can see the, and then the little
Oh
ones down
yeah.
below.
Cassie, you like watching your babies too? Oh, I see what you were saying. Like for the babies, the bigger crab was like a foster crab mom. That's
Yeah.
cute. Yes. Are you getting some, Cassie? They're a lot of fun. Soon, absolutely. What other kind of questions do you guys have for us? Another crabby winemaker.
What do you mean, Dakota? You're gonna have to tell us about that later. Did they like put food in their water?
Don't leave us hanging, Dakota. Oh, they drank fruit. Oh.
Oh, that's gross.
That's terrible. Oh, Savannah, you make these too, right? For the babies, the little baby igloos.
Yes.
So,
look at him trying to get in there.
That's one of the big ones. He's like, "Hey, this is new," and I'm like, "No, not for you, not for you." But I like that the babies had a place that they could go and hide that the bigger ones couldn't get to. I don't think, at least under my watch, they never seemed to need it, but it was nice when I finally would go to bed after they had been here for a while and I could, not wake up every hour to check on them and make sure that they were okay. It was nice knowing that they had a place they could go that my big guys couldn't get to. They're starting a small business. I think my crabs would enjoy some crab wine. They're pretty into that. Oh, look, I found one with my baby and my big one. There you go, Dan. Got to match like you.
Oh, yep.
Aww.
You guys see the baby in the back there? And Savannah, you also make those ledges, don't you?
Yeah.
I think I literally own your shop.
I think you do too.
Yeah, we have those in our tank as well.
I love them. My crabs love those. That's where I put most of my green sand and the worm casings. And no, Savannah didn't pay me to show you guys any of this or to to prompt that I pretty much own everything. I didn't.
Mhm.
As I'm pulling it up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do have so much of your stuff. Oh. Look how sweet. Canadian crab wine, Peeves and Company. I love it,
Pet
Dakota.
wine.
I love it. Hey, they got to pull their weight, right? I mean, everyone in the household has to pull their own, so they better get making, bring in some of that money. We have rotted strawberry, decomposed raspberry, bottled watermelon. Aw, Dan, you get some good videos.
Thanks. They were really tough to get because a lot of the times they would be like, nope, I don't want my picture taken, and run the opposite way or just hide.
Yep.
But we tried to
The
document
smell, you say
as
it
much
smells
as we
good?
could.
That's fun. Oh, here's a good picture of like the size of a baby in comparison. I don't have big hands, so that's kind of when I first got them. That's Francisco.
Yeah, like they can literally fit on a dime.
Yes. And this is the same. So these two, just to show everybody the difference. So these guys were both born 2019. And look at the difference. I mean, and he's still really small.
Even the color too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their colors
Yeah, the
vary
colors
quite
are a
bit.
lot different. Savannah, that's your jungle gym in the background.
Here's one with ours too. Big. Those are actually babies.
Look at that. Wow.
Aw.
Cassie, mine's name, I have two. One's name is Houdini and one's name is Francisco. Dan and Savannah, do you guys want to share what your babies' names are?
We actually never named them. It's like baby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have
Because we can
Itsy
never tell them
Bitsy.
apart.
I have Itsy Bitsy and Bubba, but I couldn't tell you which one's which.
Do you guys have like a favorite crab name out of all your crabs? Like, is there one that the name has a funny story or is just really sweet or?
Mr.
I have-
Fishy Head.
Oh
Mr.
yeah, you told
Fishy.
us that yesterday. Definitely tell that
Oh, I
story
missed
again
that
though.
one.
Oh, well, we did a big rescue, like, what was that, 3 years ago, Samantha? We did this big rescue where we live in like central Pennsylvania, and there was somebody that had crabs up for adoption in like Frederick, Maryland. And so then we're setting up a time to go and be able to meet them. And then another adoption came up in the area, and then another one. And I'm like, okay, how can we swing this doing 3 adoptions and be able to plan the time out? And it took like probably a week to coordinate everything with all of the people that were giving them up, and us planning. Like, we went and got like a regulator for our car to plug in for power and everything for a heater. But once we got all the crabs back, we gave them all fresh foods and everything. And we always break up when we have whole fish into little pieces just so one crab won't drag the whole thing off. And this one crab found the head, started picking and eating out the eyes and just devouring it. And then he was like trying to shove it into his shell, and he like took off running at it. He was like totally like rabid over this head, so he became Mr. Fishy Head.
I love it. I love it. That was a cute video, Savannah.
That was when I first got him, and I don't know if you could see it, but You can like kind of tell how big they are because you can right over there. That's a little baby shrimp. Can't get it to focus.
Oh,
But you can like see the eye on the little baby shrimp because it's such a close-up photo.
yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't have any funny stories about names other than my kids name most of our crabs. So we have like Big Mama, Old Blue.
Oh, we have Big Mama too.
If you're Steeler fans, we have a Big Snack, Big Ben. There's a Polo in there. I don't know where Polo came from, but most of ours are kid named. Though I named the babies. The babies were my name. That was the rule. I got to name the babies. They could not. So Houdini and Francisco totally came from me.
Yeah, we always change the names of some of the crabs too. Like one of my favorite too. Like I don't know if anybody knows the band Guar, but I have one Crab Cake the Mighty. Instead of Beefcake the Mighty, he's Crab Cake the Mighty.
I like that. That's funny. That's cute. What about guys on the chat? Anybody have any awesome names?
What are some other crabby names we have? We have a gun show because he always like walks around like.
Well, he's neat.
And he's an
Welcome to the gun show.
It looks like we're kind of trailing off with people. If you guys have something to do, you can go. If you want to stay, you can. I can just leave this open. I think there's another session going on. I'm not sure what it is.
We have a crab named Get a Passport Dakota.
What is it?
Get a Passport Dakota.
Dakota,
Did she
Dakota,
jump off?
Dakota.
I guess she missed it.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell her to watch the replay if they post it.
Yeah, any other good crabby names?
Well, Mr. Fishy Head.
Yeah, I told that
But
story.
he got changed to Mr. Rapey Head because he hit puberty and decided he was going to go after all the females. So I had to switch his tank. Yeah.
Yeah, he was originally one in the baby tank, and he got out of
Yeah, he was
control.
a rescue, and he was nice and sweet. And we got Mr. Fishy Head because when we brought him home, I put in a fishy head, and he sat there and he grabbed the fishy head and pulled it away and started getting out the eyeball. So I go, oh, Mr. Fishy Head.
Yeah.
Puberty. He became Mr. Rapey Head, and now he's in the 55 with all the gangsters.
That is too
Malachi.
funny.
I named Malachi after the redheaded kid in Children of the Corn, the Stephen King movie.
Yes.
And Malachi, yeah. He's an
Mhm.
Ecuadorian too.
Oh,
Triple H.
awesome.
Triple H after the wrestler.
Okay. Yep.
And
I
yeah,
remember
Triple
that.
H and Gun Show do not get along. Sometimes they do, but they like to brawl. Yeah, I'm always separating those two.
Do you have them in separate tanks, or do you just
Oh,
watch
no.
them?
No, like they have a
work it
love-hate relationship.
Yeah, they can either get along or they'll just start beating on each other, and that's just how they are. They don't mess with anybody else, though. It's just those two.
Well, I mean, that's what they would probably do in the wild, right? I mean, not everyone gets along with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because it'll just be one of them will be walking by in the moss pit, and as the one's walking by minding his own business, the other one will just
Just
push him.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Why are you instigating?
That is too funny when they're like that. I mean, you know that they're thinking, and there's more to them than people give them credit for. There really is.
a lot of them used to
Stevie
have
Years had a
names
girlfriend.
as they got bigger and they all started looking alike and wearing the same shells.
Yes.
And I don't have the time to do the sete patterns on the claws. Plus the 55, I call them they're a gang because they have no
Mhm.
fear. And if you stick your hand in there, it's, beware. I used to have a crab that
Yep.
actually come after me and try to get me.
Really?
They were rescues, so you don't know. You know, they just could have had a fear.
Yeah, yeah.
But they all
It's
get along with
sad.
each other.
Hey, as long as they're happy and healthy, and it's all that matters. Stevie, he thinks he should be the alpha crab, but he lived with 2 bigger PPs. Oh, your E lived with the purple pinchers? Was one of the purple pinchers his girlfriend? Well, anything else that you guys have for us? Dan and Samantha have tons of awesome information. I've learned a
Well,
lot from
we
this
got it all
session. Thank
from-
you.
We got it all from the people at Lycos. You know,
Yep,
we didn't
they're awesome.
we didn't know anything until we met the Krabby family, and we all learned from each other. And we all have
Yes.
different experiences, different tanks, you know, different walks of life, different atmospheres, and we're just learning and growing from each other. You know, we have
Yeah.
going on. It's very good. I love it.
I think so too. It is. It's you said it. It's like a family. I mean, and so many people don't understand the loves that we have for the crabs. So it's
Well,
nice to be able to go somewhere and other people get it.
Yeah,
They know what we're talking about.
yeah, we're a different kind of crazy altogether.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we understand that we're crazy. That's wonderful. Nobody else does. And I'm really looking forward to
Right.
next year's CrabCon because I can't wait to meet everybody.
Yes, yes. That's what I really liked about this. I didn't do the virtual last year, but coming on this year and being able to see the people who I see comment on, Facebook post or do all that kind of stuff. It's so nice to finally like put faces and voices
Yeah.
to
And then we
all
all
of that.
come
So-
together. It won't be as scary because we pretty much already know each other.
Right,
So-
right.
Like the first CrabCon, nobody knew anybody. We're just like, oh, how do you make friends? You know, we're all adults trying to make new friends. And now here we are. It's like everybody around the world's connected. It's wonderful.
Mhm. It is. People just, you just say the name Mary. Everybody knows who Mary is.
Well,
She's
this
like
is all-
Oprah. One
This
name.
is all from Mary. If it wasn't for Mary and those little babies, this wouldn't even be happening.
You're right. You're right. I mean, how awesome. How awesome. This is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and also there's the baby hermit crabs group, which
Yes.
when we that was a private group for probably the first year or so.
Yeah.
And before everything, you could actually out and adopt from Josh's frogs and everything. So it was all of us from the first few adoptions in there sharing all our stories. So if you actually go and research back to the earlier days, you'll find a lot of oh my God, did anybody see this? No, but oh, I just had that. So you can see a lot of how we progressed with learning on there too. So that's a great resource.
Yeah, because you had a handful of people
Yes.
who had brand new babies. So we were just bouncing off each other, trying to learn things and Mary. And yeah, if you scroll back and get some past history, it's evolved. It really has.
Yes. I remember Mary added me to that group when I received mine, and I think I spent hours and hours. And it's fun because people post pictures and they're so cute and everything, and just going through and everything you could think of. I would just take screenshots, especially of the ones that talked about the type of food, food priorities with them, and the extra calcium and that kind of stuff. And you're right, it's an awesome resource. I'm glad she started that page and has opened it up so that other people can.
Yeah, I had so
Can
many
you
questions.
know?
How deep's the substrate? What about the heat? What about the humidity? What about this? I had questions about everything from the bottom up.
Right,
And-
right. That's awesome.
And now everybody that has babies, they have the resources and they have ways of being educated. So I think the whole captive breeding program is really going to take off. So, it's
Yeah.
going to be a point where if you want a hermit crab, you can adopt it from Josh's frogs, which means how many crabs are in the wild are being left alone
Yes.
because they're not
Yes.
ordering, crabs from the outside.
Yeah. That's huge. It's huge. Well,
I think that's all I have for now. So I'm going
Yeah.
to say goodbye. It was nice
All
talking
right.
to you.
Yeah.
You too. It was nice to meet you, Samantha and Dan. It was very nice to meet you. I know I've seen your name on things, so it's nice.
Yeah, and she actually goes by Gypsy Mustaine on the group and everything on Facebook. So
Yeah, see, I'm not really into Facebook. Like, there's a lot of stalkers and, people I don't want finding me and people in the past, it's a drama. And so I changed my name. Therefore, the people that know me know who I am. But people from the past and the outside, they can't just go finding me and stalking me and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So look for you under Gypsy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Also from a Stephen King movie.
Hmm.
Big.
I love Stephen King.
Yeah.
I love Stephen King. All right. Well,
have a great evening, everybody.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye, Savannah. Bye, everyone.
Mm.